If you're going to create a religion, why not make it revolve around cool, clone-making aliens and make it super sex positive? There aren't many religions or cults, whatever you end up calling these believers on this tiny blue ball in space of ours, like the Raelians, sometimes pronounced Raëlians. I'm going to go with Raelians because it's easier to say. Mix ancient alien beliefs and counterculture free love ideals, filtered through a French failed musician and race car enthusiasts' intense desire to feel important and get laid, and you have yourself the fringe UFO religious movement of the Raelians, who currently claim more than 100,000 sexy, nerdy, clone-loving believers. There is so much to this group, from building an embassy for their alien gods to land at in the near future, to their cringy logo, to a program called Clitorade, their order of angels, and their claims of clones, which tie to both a form of immortality and sex slave fantasies. Today we meet these alien lovers and their founder and prophet, Raël, also known as Raël, real name Claude, who really wants you to love him, especially if you're a very attractive young woman. Grab your space helmets and moon boots for a kind of cult, sex, intergalactic edition of Timesuck.
This is Michael McDonald, and you're listening to Timesuck.
You're listening to Timesuck.
Happy Monday, meat sacks. Let's get so fucking weird today. Welcome to the Cult of the Curious. I'm Dan Cummins, a suckmaster, Elohim clone sex slave product tester, life inside Elizabeth stunt double, and you are listening to Timesuck. Hail Nimrod, hail Lucifina. Did you give Claude the idea for his sex religion? Praise Bojangles, and glory be to Triple M. Thanks to everyone who came out a few weekends back to the Oklahoma City stand-up shows. So fun. I will get back there someday. Really like the city of Oklahoma City. That's the first time I spent time there. Atlanta this coming weekend, 6 shows at the Punchline. Most shows sold out and not many tickets left, so grab them fast if you want to come. Looking forward to a lot of fun there. Another great city. America is full of great cities. The world is. Charlotte, Tempe, Raleigh, Missoula, and more coming up. Missoula almost sold out, and we won't be able to add another show last minute to that venue, so hope you can get tickets if you want to go. Speaking of tickets for Wet Hot Bad Magic Summer Camp. I said it right that time. They go on sale 24 hours after this episode drops into the feed. Tuesday, March 15th, noon Pacific time. And then when they're gone, they're gone. The space can only serve a limited number of meat sacks, just 300 total VIP tickets available. Come get wet with me this August. More details at badmagicmerch.com. One more quick thing. Mad respect continues for the people of Ukraine. And still death to Putin. Hope this all leads to that tyrannical despot's eventual destruction. He's hurting both his own people and the people of Ukraine right now for what? Ego. Power. To make Russia a stronger world power. Make him a stronger leader. And as someone who values freedom, no part of me understands anyone in this country who supports Putin right now. Do not support tyranny. Hail Ukraine, hail Poland for everything they're doing to help Ukraine. I think instead of making fun of the Polish going forward, I might have to suck their dicks now. Don't tell my wife. They're great people. And now stay where you are to come get weird with me. Love this shit. Let's talk about aliens. Let's talk about an alien religion, cult, sex type club thingy. Let's talk about Raëlism. Here is our show structure today. First, going to try and define Raëlism and see how it compares to other UFO religions/cults we've covered before on Timesuck, like Heaven's Gate, Order of the Solar Temple, and Scientology. Then we'll examine some other UFO cults who we've not talked about before that may have influenced Raëlism or Raelianism, I like to also call it. Then we'll dig into the belief system of the Raelians before meeting their living prophet, Raël. Probably call him Raël quite a bit. A French eccentric, actually named Claude Maurice Marcel Vorilhon in today's timeline. So what is Raëlism? A UFO religion? Sex cult, pleasure cult, atheistic religion. It's been described or defined by all those terms and more. The government of France, the nation where Raëlism or Raelianism began, classifies the Raelian movement as a sect. Secte translates just directly into the word sect, but that word is common usage-wise the equivalent of the word cult here in English. The Bureau of Democracy, Human Rights, and Labor of the United States Department of State, created in 1977 to help advance individual liberty and democratic freedoms around the world. They have classified the international Raelian movement as a religion. Many journalists have called it a cult of some kind. And reading all kinds of articles on Raëlism, watching a great newish full-length documentary film, 2020's The Prophet and the Space Aliens, and after poking around quite a bit on the organization's own website and flipping through some of their literature, I'm still not sure how to properly define them. Can you have a religion that doesn't believe in a god or gods? Yes, actually. According to the Apple Dictionary app, there are 3 definitions for the noun religion. The first is the belief in and worship of a superhuman controlling power, especially a personal god or gods. 2, a particular system of faith and worship. And 3, a pursuit or interest to which someone ascribes supreme importance. And technically, Raëlism fits the criteria for all 3 of those definitions. It is a particular system of faith and worship. It is definitely a pursuit or interest to which many different someones have ascribed supreme importance. And the Raelians do believe in a superhuman controlling power of sorts, just not one that they define as a god. Now, they believe in aliens, who pretty much act as gods. We've never covered any other topic quite like Raëlism before. The closest companion sucks would be the Heaven's Gate UFO cult, Scientology, and Order of the Solar Temple Doomsday cult episodes. So how does Raëlism compare to these other alien-influenced belief systems? Well, Heaven's Gate and Raelianism, I'll probably keep calling it back and forth between Raëlism and Raelianism. It's fun to spice it up. Both founded in 1974, one in the U.S., the other in France. One of the central beliefs of Heaven's Gate was that the followers could transform themselves into immortal extraterrestrial beings by rejecting their human nature, and if they did that, which involved cutting off their balls, or at least having them, chemically castrated, they could ascend to heaven, referred to as the next level or the evolutionary level above human. Most extraterrestrial-based spiritual belief systems seem to be very focused on spiritual evolution. Right? Some notion of you got to raise your consciousness, you got to raise your vibrational frequency. That gets talked about a lot through something like yoga or meditation, forsaking violence, group chanting, mostly through focusing on your fellow man, loving your fellow man. As fucking weird as many of these belief systems are, they're generally pretty harmless and focused on love. Aliens in the backdrop, with the day-to-day activities more hippie drum circle than they are Trekkie convention. Luckily, only 2 have ended in mass suicide like Heaven's Gate. Originally, Heaven's Gate founders Bonnie Nettles and Marshall Applewhite, old T and Doe, and their followers thought that they would board a spaceship while still alive and then be flown to a type of heaven. Later, after Bonnie died, before any kind of sweet ascension, the group then conveniently now believed that you needed to die before ascending, and their spirits would, board a spaceship traveling through space in the tail of the comet Hale-Bopp. And similar to the Raelians, they believed that the Christian God was not a supernatural, omnipotent being, but rather just a highly evolved alien that we interpreted as the kind of God of the Christian Bible. And they believed, also like the Raelians, that early humans writing the Bible, right, they just didn't have the ability to comprehend extraterrestrials the way we do now, which is why they wrote it down as a god. And they believed that evil aliens, Luciferians, presented themselves to ancient earthlings as gods in order to corrupt their religions and help stop humans from transcending to the point, leveling up spiritually, where they could become godlike themselves. Very ego-fulfilling, right? You can become like God. They use the Bible's theology as a type of doctrinal base coat, then painted some sci-fi beliefs over the top of it. All of the UFO religions I've been able to find do a version of this, right? The base coat might not be Christianity, it might be theosophy or Hinduism, some other type of religion, but none of the ones I have found just build an entire belief system from scratch. The Order of the Solar Temple, they formed a decade after the Raelians, 1984, launching also in France, and quickly establishing themselves also in Quebec, where the Raelians would also quickly move to, and Switzerland, also where the Raelians went to. So similar kind of migration pattern. Their beliefs, past tense, if they still exist following the other infamous UFO cult mass suicide, they no longer have any sort of internet presence at all. And their beliefs don't seem to have been as defined as most other cults or religious movements we've covered here. They technically fall under the umbrella of UFO religions because they believe that death was an illusion and that when you die, your consciousness would move on to another planet. And so UFOs would just be humans who had moved on to other planets doing some space exploration back on this planet. And they believed that Christ would return to Earth as some kind of extraterrestrial solar king. While Heaven's Gate and the Order of the Solar Temple ended up being suicide cults, Raelians, most UFO religions or UFO cults, however you want to call it, very anti-suicide. So that's good. All about staying alive, experiencing lots of pleasure, as you'll see with the Raelians. Very hedonistic in some ways, very sex positive. In many ways, the Raelians, really not that bad, actually. Much more odd, weird than bad. Then there's Scientology. Scientology, also technically a UFO religion, which is loosely defined as any religion in which the existence of extraterrestrial entities, possibly operating unidentified flying objects, an element of belief. Stories of extraterrestrial civilizations and spaceships do definitely form a part of Scientology's belief system, as much as they sometimes don't want to talk about that publicly. Xenu, the ruler of the Galactic Confederacy in L. Ron Hubbard's space opera masquerading as religion, is said to have brought billions of frozen people to Earth 75 million years ago, placed them on a number of volcanoes, dropped hydrogen bombs on them, thus killing the entire population in an effort to solve overpopulation. You get it. It's pretty straightforward, well thought out, and most of all, believable. The spirits of these frozen people were then captured by Xenu and mass implanted with numerous suggestions and then packaged into clusters of spirits. Are you still following? If so, I am fucking impressed. The core of Scientology is especially poorly written. And I say that as someone who is not impressed by any of the origin stories for any of today's major religions. Scientology also teaches that all humans have experienced innumerable past lives, including lives in ancient advanced extraterrestrial societies. Traumatic memories from these past lives are said to be the cause of many present-day physical and mental ailments. Right? According to Hubbard, when we die, our thetans, basically a Scientology term for a soul, go to a landing station on the planet of Venus, obviously, where the soul is then programmed to forget its previous lifetimes and be reconditioned for use in a new vessel. And you would fucking know that if you ever took the time to look at the surface of Venus with a high-powered telescope. Wake up and look at the Thetan refurbishing factories on the surface of Venus. If you doubt for a second the supreme truth of Elron, DM Tom Cruise. If you don't understand any of this, I'm sure he'll get back to you. The Venusians, I think that's how you say people from Venus, which is a fucking nonsensical term. It's not real. The Venusians then capsule each Thetan, send it back to Earth to be dumped into, obviously, the Gulf of California, whereupon each Thetan searches for a new body to inhabit. And bingo, bango, a new baby is born. Hakuna Matata, motherfucker. And if you want to break this cycle, Hubbard wrote about how, you just simply, you refuse to go to Venus after you die, okay? You just pull a Nancy Reagan and you just say no. No, thank you, Venusians. I would rather not have my soul recycled. I appreciate the offer. Hard pass. I would rather, I don't fucking know, float around and be a Scientology ghost or some shit. Elron, he didn't make a lot of this very clear. So please just give me a second to think about it, Venusians. Okay, so there you go. Did I mention Elron wrote a lot of pulp science fiction before he imagined up a new religion? And that while he was a working author, he was never known for being a particularly good one. Luckily, Raelianism is not as blatantly nefarious, not nearly as Scientology is. You don't have to keep paying for expensive literature and weird auditing sessions and more to keep leveling up in your quest to become clear. You are not bullied and harassed by members for leaving and or criticizing the movement. You are not labeled a suppressive person. And current members are not forbidden from speaking to you for daring to say, this is fucking weird. No, this isn't working for me. Raelianism, not nearly as rigid and structured as Scientology. There is also a few other episodes we've done related to today's topic in some way. Suck number 157, Mormonism, the good, the bad, and the FLDS. Technically, you can place the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints under the umbrella of UFO religions. Let me explain. Lorenzo Snow, fifth president of the church from 1898 to 1901, once summarized the LDS doctrine of eternal progression, saying, "As man now is, God once was. As God now is, man may be." Founder Joseph Smith, months before his death, told followers that the Christian God the Father once passed through mortality, just as Jesus did. This is generally interpreted as meaning that God once lived on a planet, a different planet with his own higher God, which technically makes God an alien. And I'm simplifying this a bit just to summarize it, but this is the gist. If you die a good, core teaching following, tenet following Mormon, you become as God is in the afterlife. And you are given your own solar system and planet to populate and turn into a whole new world. And then the best Mormons on that new planet also get their own planets, right? And then the cycle of galactic human expansion continues exponentially. A lot of potential for some advanced human civilizations making it to space travel capability if you just trace this situation back prior to our planet's development. Right? The church has publicly dismissed this interpretation in recent years, but when I went to a Mormon church in Marsing, Idaho in the mid-1990s, I was taught, I love that I said 1990s, as if, like if I didn't say that, you might think 1890s. When I went to a church in the 1890s, now in the mid-90s, I was taught exactly this. Joseph Fielding Smith, 10th LDS president from 1970 to 1972, did teach that just as there are millions of galaxies, there are also millions of gods. He wrote, "The great universe of stars has multiplied beyond the comprehension of men. Evidently, each of these great systems is governed by divine law, with divine presiding gods, for it would be unreasonable to assume that each was not so governed." You can find that in Smith's book, Answers to Gospel Questions, chapter 2, verse 144. And this notion of a bunch of other planets being inhabited by a bunch of other Mormons could easily has led to interpreting UFOs as other humans, technically in that situation, other Mormons visiting us from other planets. So Raelianism as religion, not nearly as layered, nuanced, organized, structured as Mormonism, no. Its doctrines so loose, almost non-existent compared to Mormonism. And Mormonism, while it may have some elements that can be classified as extraterrestrial, it is firmly rooted in Christian theology, despite some Christian groups saying that it is not. Not so much with Raelianism. Raelianism patterns itself hierarchy-wise after Catholicism a bit, terms like priests and bishops and things. It does reference Christian figures, Christian stories as part of its advanced aliens created us theology, but not actually that grounded in Christianity. The base coat, pretty thin on this one. Two more previous Timesuck topics also relate a bit to today's topic. Might as well mention them just very quickly. We met the Raelians a few months ago in the Celebrity Cloning Conspiracy Suck, episode 258. We'll talk about the interesting cloning claims of the Raelians again today and why that venture was so important to them. And then finally, Raelianism founder Claude Vorilhon, Vorilhon, his last name is kind of tricky for me, may have borrowed some of his ancient aliens, came from outer space and deemed me to be their prophet beliefs from ancient astronaut theory authors, like some of the ones we met just a few weeks prior to that episode about the cloning, in Suck number 255, Ancient Aliens and Ancient Sumerians. After these comparisons to other religious groups, I'm still not sure how to properly define the Raelians. They are their own thing, but not born in a vacuum. Let's look at a few other UFO religions I think Claude may have been pretty inspired and influenced by when he came up with his religion. After we get our heads further around the small slice of religious pie that Raelianism was born out of, then we'll dig specifically into the beliefs of the Raelians, and then we'll meet their living prophet, Raël, a French eccentric actually named Claude Maurice Marcel Vorilhon, in today's timeline. Religions based around beliefs in UFOs, extraterrestrials, are pretty new, kind of. Many members of UFO religions would argue that all the major religions of the world are UFO religions. And therefore, UFO religions are the oldest religions in the world, right? Fuck yeah, bro. But those stupid ancient people, they just didn't understand what they were seeing when they were supposedly looking at miracles or heard God or gods. Those were fucking aliens, dude. Jesus was an alien. Buddha was an alien. Muhammad was an alien. All the Hindu gods, aliens. The gods of Mount Olympus, aliens. The creatures of Celtic mythology, probably not aliens. Probably completely made up gibberish. I mean, come on. The vampire, Abertalk thingies, silky seal, mermaid, weird fucking creatures, demon, fairy, Lanashi monsters. That shit has hallucinogens and or fever dreams written all over them. But seriously, stupid, primitive old meat sacks, their little cave folk pea-brains, couldn't begin to process ancient astronauts or ancient aliens as aliens or as humans from the future or whatever. So they turned them into gods. That is what many UFO religion adherents believe. The rest of the world seems to believe that UFO religions are strictly a recent phenomenon. Product of the past 70 years or so, born out of science fiction of the past roughly 120 years. The kind of shit written by former Suck subject H.P. Lovecraft and his contemporaries and authors of a few generations before him. Maybe inspired by that science fiction, UFO mania kicked the fuck off late 40s, early 1950s, as did new UFO religions right alongside these sightings, which just makes sense, I guess. What seems to be the most comprehensive list of UFO religions I found on the web, the oldest UFO religion listed was founded in 1953, right here in the US of A. The Seekers. When I saw that name, I thought, oh, that's a great band name. And it is. There is a band called The Seekers, Australian folk pop quartet, formed in 1962. First Australian pop music group to achieve major chart and sales success in the UK and the US. But we're not talking about those Seekers. Seekers we're talking about were originally organized in 1953 by Charles Loughead, staff member at Michigan State University, East Lansing. They were led by Dorothy Martin from Chicago, who believed a UFO would save them from a catastrophe December 21st, 1954. They'd meet in a non-denominational church to hear alien messages given to Dorothy. Then, after the aliens ditched them and didn't show up in 1954, they realized they were being a bunch of silly-ass clowns, and they went back to their regular lives, focusing on their retirement plans, raising their kids to the best of their abilities. JK. No, that's not how that shit works. No, they just quickly pushed back the date over and over, like other bullshit doomsday cults we've studied, like the Jehovah's Witnesses have done so many times. Interestingly, noted social psychologist Leon Festinger infiltrated this particular group, pretending to share their beliefs, went undercover, really studied them back in the early 50s, and he wrote a book about the experience, When Prophecy Fails, a social and psychological study of a modern group that predicted the destruction of the world. Festinger infiltrated the Seekers with the goal of studying their cognitive reactions and coping mechanisms when their beliefs inevitably failed, a thought process which Festinger named, drumroll please, cognitive dissonance, something we have talked about over and over and over on Timesuck. The term cognitive dissonance is used to describe the mental discomfort that results from holding two conflicting beliefs, values, or attitudes. People tend to seek consistency in their attitudes and perceptions, so this conflict causes feelings of unease or discomfort. This inconsistency between what people believe and how they behave motivates people to engage in actions that will help minimize feelings of discomfort. People attempt to relieve this tension in different ways, such as by rejecting, explaining away, or avoiding new information. You know, why won't that one uncle or neighbor or coworker of yours finally just accept that QAnon and Pizzagate are preposterously idiotic conspiracies, full of proven lie after proven lie, prediction after prediction that has not even come fucking close to being true? Well, because, in large part, cognitive dissonance. You know, realizing you have fallen hook, line, and sinker for a web of lies that makes you look really stupid is very uncomfortable. It does not feel good. So rather than swallow that very bitter pill, you twist all the evidence that makes you feel bad about yourself into being, you know, something like the devil's tricks. That's it. That's the thing. Is the devil confusing me? And also the deep state. Oh, buddy. You betcha QAnon is real, and we'd know that if the deep state didn't constantly manipulate the media into lying to us. Damn you, deep state lizard people. You also double down on that 1 in 1,000 moment where the crazy shit you've fallen for actually predicts something that happens, you know, when the randomly thrown dart fucking sticks in the right place. Aha! I told you this shit was real, right? Those feelings are good. Thinking that you're right, that feels good. Finding other people in your echo chamber to tell you that the people in your life telling you that you're crazy are sheeple, that they're idiots, and that you're the smart one, that feels good. And so you keep ignoring all the information that makes you feel bad. No thank you, uncomfortable truths. I don't want to hear them. We meat sacks like to feel good. One of the things I think old Sigmund Freud got right was the pleasure principle. The instinctive urge to pursue what makes us feel good about ourselves and to avoid what makes us feel bad. Not to be confused with hedonism. Psychological pleasure might be following God's strict rules to avoid concern over damnation, something not inherently physically pleasing, like an orgasm. Connecting this back to cognitive dissonance, so many of us eagerly swallow lie after lie to keep the good feelings going. And this important social psychology theory, so relevant to understanding today's conspiracy culture, can be traced back to the first known example of a UFO religion. I thought that was very interesting. And the followers of Claude, aka Raël, they have to employ a lot of cognitive dissonance in order for them to keep actually believing in his half-baked ideas about aliens deeming him, their only current living prophet, their most important prophet. Jesus was a warm-up act for Claude, as you'll find out. Speaking of aliens, a belief in aliens is an example of something that makes a lot of us feel really good, right? Especially UFO religion adherents. They're the answer. Many UFO religions have assigned to arguably the most important question we humans have ever asked ourselves. Why are we here? Aliens create us. That's why. Ding, ding, ding. Question solved. Right? And they want us to love one another and look hot and get our fuck on as much as possible until they get back, saith the Raelians. I'd say that question is one of the top two most important questions we ever ask. The other one being, what happens when we die? And the Raelians answer that question for its members as well. Well, the aliens bring us back to life. Yay! They create magical clones and bingo, bango! New body, same old you inside. And what are we supposed to do with our time on Earth now that the aliens have created us? Well, the Raelians have answered that too. Probably the third most important question we ask. We're supposed to just love one another. Love, love, love. Fuck, fuck, fuck. How sweet and simplistic. What an easy pill to swallow. Also, as weird as an alien religion may sound to many, pointing to aliens in your theological system isn't really a bad call, right? Because a lot of people believe in them. According to a Gallup poll done in July of 2021, 41% of Americans believe that some of the UFOs cited are extraterrestrial in origin. Not as many as the 87% of Americans polled by Gallup in 2017 that said they believe in God, but still it's a pretty good number, if you're trying to recruit. And full disclosure, I'm part of that 41%. I love thinking about aliens. And I think statistically, they have to exist, don't they? An infinite galaxy, right? There's got to be some of them out there somewhere. And there's been too many sightings, in my opinion, for none of them to, just be actual aliens. But do I think we actually know anything concrete about them? No, I don't, because no one who doesn't seem absolutely crazy or full of shit to me has claimed to know what they're about. And certainly no one has provided any concrete proof that they know what aliens are up to. A lot of people have claimed, though, to received messages from aliens. Emanuel Swedenborg's publication, what a great name. What's your name? Emanuel Swedenborg. Hangy bangy hoofda. I'm Mr. Swedenborg. We get it. You're from Sweden. Mr. Swedenborg. His publication, Ghosts from Other Planets, claiming that he communed with spirits from other planets, came out in 1758. Accepted as the first claim of communication with extraterrestrials. But no religion formed in the wake of that claim. That didn't happen as far as we can tell. Tangent reconnecting finally with the previous narrative again, till the Seekers showed up in the early 50s. Well, the Seekers and Scientology, and there are other theosophical movements that are kind of alien nature, all that Madam Helen Blavatsky bullshit that came out of the mid and late 19th century that led to a belief for many in a lot of wackadoodle New Age nonsense, the Lemurians, ancient people of Atlantis, root races, ascended masters, etc. We've covered some of that in episode 131 on National Park Mysteries, and in the Nawabian Nation of More cult as well. But the Seekers are much more of a true UFO religion than the Scientologists that came before them. Because they focus, around recent communing with extraterrestrials than theosophical sects usually do. With the Seekers, that Dorothy Martin, middle-aged Chicago housewife who practiced automatic writing, she thought that ghosts could use her body as a vessel and write messages to the living through her. And sometime in the early 50s, she added that now aliens could also talk through her. She was a double threat, ghosts and aliens. She was the fucking Bo Jackson, the Deion Sanders of paranormal communicators. And she claimed to be, hope Deion's healing well, by the way. Poor guy just lost a couple toes. Random thought I had to share. She claimed to be receiving messages from superior beings from a planet she referred to as Clarion. The aliens of Clarion are speaking with me now. And these messages included a prophecy that large portions of the U.S., Canada, Central America, and Europe will be destroyed by a flood. Asia's okay for some reason. The flood would happen before dawn on December 21st, 1954. Right? But the aliens would save everyone who followed and listened to her, so don't even worry about it. I wonder why that flood didn't happen. Weird. Maybe aliens prank called her. Right? Does that ever happen? That's got to be it. It was some dickhead teenage alien fucking with poor Dorothy. But after given that date, he hung up the telepathy connection and laughed so hard with his alien buddies. Well, Dorothy accrued a small number of dedicated believers. Some left or lost their jobs, neglected or ended their studies, ended relationships with non-believers, gave money to Dorothy, disposed of possessions to prepare for their departure on a flying saucer, which they believe would rescue them, and others in advance of the flood. I don't know why they just didn't, try and travel to Asia. But when the flood didn't come, many of them stayed for years in this same little group, thanks to cognitive dissonance. All right, next up, UFO. And we don't know a lot about the Seekers. We know a bit more about these next few. I find these very interesting. Next up, a UFO religion that sprang up just across the English Channel from France 2 decades before Claude started receiving his messages from extraterrestrials and then forming the Raelians. I think Claude knew about the Aetherius Society. Right, the Seekers may have influenced Claude and his Raelians, but again, pretty small, don't know a ton about it. I think there's a very good chance the Aetherius Society influenced him. The Aetherius Society, like the Seekers, kicked off in the 1950s. This one founded by Englishman George King, who claimed to have been contacted by some elite aliens, never the fucking scrub aliens. Never the bottom of the JV bench aliens, right? These people, they always get contacted by the important aliens. In this case, the Cosmic Masters. The Aetherius Society was mostly based in theosophy, as prevented by, Blavatsky, that lunatic. Theosophy teaches that there is an ancient and secretive brotherhood of spiritual adepts, known as the Masters, who, although found around the world, mostly centered in Tibet, sometimes are aliens. These masters, alleged by Blavatsky to have cultivated great wisdom and supernatural powers, and most theosophists believe that it was they who initiated the modern theosophical movement through disseminating their teachings via Blavatsky, their chosen one. They believe that these masters are attempting to revive knowledge of an ancient religion once found around the world, maybe taught to humans by aliens, and it'll come again to eclipse the existing world religions when the aliens are fucking ready. I don't know why they're waiting. George King, raised up in a Christian family with strong occult interests in Wellington, England, was an intensely spiritually curious man who got way into theosophy initially. Before some VIP aliens hit him up, he got into spiritual healing. He joined a couple of theosophically based groups around London. Then he got really into fucking hardcore yoga. And then through the power of stretching and breathing right, he opened up some psychic fucking powers within himself. Fuck yes, he did. And these powers allowed him naturally to unlock the secrets of the universe. He became a master of the universe. He became a much thinner and bendier He-Man with no cool castle or sword or big green tiger horse thing. I have the power of yoga. King claimed that in 1954, while working as a more flexible than average taxi driver, while working as a fucking downward dog taxi driver, a voice told him, prepare yourself. I hope it was that kind of voice. Prepare yourself. You are to become the voice of interplanetary parliament. And he was like, oh, fuck yeah, I am. And that voice he heard for sure was not any kind of mental illness manifesting itself. Or it's not a lie, he told. Come on, people don't do that. And then a never-named but super famous yoga Swami dude beamed into his locked apartment one day, kind of like Kirk and Spock and the others who beamed to planets on Star Trek. And that guy told him that he needed to gather followers in anticipation of receiving messages from cosmic masters living on Venus. Always Venus for some reason. That's how you know you're talking to the real cosmic masters, right? They live on Venus. They're not fucking idiots slumming it up on Mars like a bunch of fucking chump, low-rent, loser aliens. Fuck Martians. Venus aliens are the good ones. Everyone knows that. These masters told this taxi driver that throughout history, various cosmic master superhero types, like Buddha and Jesus, came to Earth from various planets to teach us dipshits how to behave so we can have nice things. Right? Cheez-It and Jesus. Jesus, Cheez-It, and Buddha. No, they came from Venus. Duh. Krishna came from Saturn for some reason. Randy Macho Man Savage came from Uranus. Lucifina came from a super sexy planet in a galaxy far, far away. What planet, you might wonder? Shut the fuck up! That's none of your business, worm. Nimrod came from everywhere and nowhere. He created all the planets. I like how the crazy things that I just threw at the end really don't seem crazier to me than what King actually claimed. Also, a lot of aliens live on Earth right now. You just can't see them because they vibrate on a different frequency than we do. That's why some UFOs, who are generally just peaceful aliens hanging out around here, that's why they blink in and out, because the vibrating. Their vibrational frequency, it's raising, it's lowering. It's not always the same, but you know that. Everyone knows that. King died in 1997. His Aetherius Society religion somehow still lives on today. No one knows how many members there are worldwide exactly, but believed to possibly be, few thousand members, mostly based in the U.S. and New Zealand. There are supposedly 35 worship centers, according to their website. I have a feeling a lot of those, or all of those worship centers, are less of like a cool-looking temple and more of a believer's spare bedroom that maybe has like an exercise bike and not a lot else, in it right now, not really being used. Members are very much against nuclear everything. They're against any form of war. They're very much in favor of yoga, alternative medicine, reincarnation, karma, spiritual healing, that sort of stuff. Peace and love, good. War and violence, bad. Guys, gosh dang. It's the church of virtue signaling. They're focused on raising their vibrational frequencies. Of course they are, by becoming better, more loving people to a high enough level to please the next cosmic master who will arrive at some point and bring about the age of Aquarius. And this next superhero is going to show up all fucking Independence Day like in a big ass spaceship and present humanity with a choice. Follow divine law and enjoy the new millennium, idiots, or be sent to a shitty lesser planet where you have to go through a bunch of painful reincarnations to make it back here again, okay? If you want, you can still become a part of this active religion. To become a member, you first need to read a bunch of books listed on aetherius.org. Seriously. Don't even fucking email their webmaster until you've read these. The 12 Blessings, the 9 Freedoms, Contacts with the Gods from Space, Realize Your Inner Potential, The Cosmic Plan, Pride and Prejudice, Adventures of Huckleberry Finn, The Shining. Obviously kidding about the last 3, but the rest are legit from their website. There's also an annual fee of $60 US. A pretty good deal. Pretty good deal. And you should take part in their 5 cosmic missions if you're serious about being a member. Right? And what are cosmic missions, you may wonder, unenlightened turd? Operation... I wish they did talk to people like that. Operation Prayer Power Charging Sessions. Pilgrimages to holy mountains like Mount Adams in New Hampshire. The super holy mountain, I guess. 12 Blessings services that produce the absent healing of those not present through dynamic prayer and mystic visualization. Divine services where you get to listen to some old audio tapes of Dr. King, not Martin Luther King, their Dr. King, very different, or have a minister, priest, or bishop give a sermon based in Aetherius books, and attending hands-on spiritual healing sessions where Aetherius members heal your chakras and repair your dirty aura and stuff. Those are cosmic missions. Oh, and there's also a commemoration events you should attend, where you can show up in a white robe and you can wish Mother Earth a happy birthday, and you can hum and play hacky sack and pretend you can feel alien beings sending you good vibes and admire each other's crystals and things like that. This religion has a YouTube channel that is not doing well. Currently 3,490 subscribers, and it's been around. It's been over 10 years. Not many seem active. Videos generally get, less than 1,000 views. 9 months ago, this channel published a video called Messages from Space. The next master is coming. And only about 600 people care. 608 views, and a good 8 of those are mine. It is claimed that this transmission was beamed from Mars, Sector 6. It is a recorded speech given by George King, called Dr. George King. On September 14th, 1957, King received his doctorate from the International Theological Seminary of California, a degree mill, with no accreditation, which means his doctorate has as much value as a Cracker Jack prize. So let's find out the masters that's coming. Sweet alien.
We are preparing a ground, preparing a platform for one other planetary entity to come among you.
How many people listen to this and just not immediately laugh? Maybe it's just because back then this stuff was like more new. This is exactly like the 1950s like pulp sci-fi movie, shitty, sci-fi television show voice. There, please, Earthling, do not be afraid of us. We mean you no harm. We are from the planet Zelda, and we will find you to be peaceful. We are hoping, or we will use our laser guns to eradicate. It's just, come on.
When he does so, you will know. When he does so, he will adopt an approach which is quite different from the approach adopted by that master you call Jesus.
It feels like he's also just like he didn't write this out ahead of time. He's just like a lot of pauses, trying to think of what to say next. He will adopt an approach that is, it's different than a lot of other approaches, like the Jesus approach. This one is it's better, Just kind of keep it vague.
The next master will come as a great adept who...
Why is he paused? Like, is the alien confused? Because this is supposed to be an alien giving him this message, like a preposterously wise alien, and he couldn't remember that they were called a great adept. Like the aliens, like, what are we again? And the next master will be a magician. No, a juggler. No, hold on. A great caricature art. No, unicyclist. Wait, adept. Yes.
Will lead the thinking man into the realms of deeper metaphysics.
Oh, nice. It's also these things are kind of like Mad Libs, where like every once in a while, I feel like they have like a little cheat sheet where it'll say like he has to. Maybe that's why I took him to pause. He has to glance down. There's like great adepts, metaphysics, immortality, masters, and he just kind of babbles. And then every once in a while, just looks down. Interdimensional physics, and then like moves on. And there will also be a lot of looking down telepathy. So you get it. It's it goes on. A couple more minutes doesn't get any better. Comments below the video, not worth repeating. Everyone loves it. That fucking garbage you just heard, that poorly thought out garbage. People are like, oh yeah, no, it's great. So thank you for sharing this wisdom. Don't know what I would have fucking done without it. So that's the Aetherius Society. A good example of something classified as a UFO religion. It fucking blows my mind that what people get behind. There's also the Unarius Academy of Science, founded in Los Angeles, California, 1954. Unarius, an acronym for Universal Articulate Interdimensional Understanding of Science. Holy shit. So many big words. It must be true. This one, it has the word science in it. And words like interdimensional, so you know it's super smart. If you become a member, you're basically a scientist. It was founded by husband and wife duo, Ernest and Ruth Norman. Ernest and subsequent alien channels and sub-channels in this community, in this religion, have written over 100 books filled with channeled dissertations from alleged advanced intelligent beings that exist on higher frequency planes, right? And have existed since 1954. I don't know what they were doing before that. You can check out their website, unarius.org, where they offer ongoing past life therapy classes on Zoom on Sundays and Wednesdays. Sundays and Wednesdays from 7 to 8:30 p.m. Pacific time. You can find out who did you used to be? I'm guessing if you take one of these classes, I'm guessing you used to be a king or queen or a badass warrior or a priestess or something, someone very important. You definitely weren't just some forgettable peasant or fucking, petty criminal. You weren't the bread maker's idiot assistant. Really hard to figure out how to join this group, poking around on their website. If you're really interested, you should probably talk to them face to face, and you can do that. Head just east of San Diego, visit their headquarters, teaching center located at 145 South Magnolia Ave, El Cajon, California. Been there since 1975. It's just down the street from a Golden Corral buffet. You can't miss it. It's a small building with a sign on the front that says Unarius Academy of Science. It is basically the MIT of the West Coast. It's a prestigious laboratory, and people like it. 4.5 out of 5 stars on Google reviews. Paula Rich Greenwood gives it 5 stars, writing, Unarius is a metaphysical science of self-healing principles, more Mad Libs, that involves reincarnation and interdimensional physics. The Unarius Center building is a beautiful teaching center. No, it's a fucking dump. I've looked at it. That looks like a cross between a Grecian temple, you've never been to Greece, and the Alexandrian Library. A contemporary spiritual science. Okay, that's to walk into its doors is to be uplifted. one of the people working here wrote this, in a spiritual transcendency that compares to being in the presence of Jesus, the Dalai Lama, or Buddha. Holy shit! I would have never guessed that walking into this small, just fucking dumpy as fuck building that hasn't been updated in any way since 1975, a stone's throw from a Panda Express, was the equivalent of meeting Jesus. And you know, it's like a place where you can get unaccredited lessons in interdimensional physics. Sure, actual science types will tell you that kind of physics is made up. But fuck those eggheads, because they're not talking to aliens. This group's YouTube channel actually doing a little bit worse than the Aetherius Society channel. Only 2,400 subscribers for the Unarius Academy of Science. Oh boy. Back in 1973, co-founder Ruth Norman changed her name to Uriel the Archangel. Of course she did. After she transformed into her higher self. Here's a short proclamation from Uriel. This is even worse than the last video. This is posted on the Unarius YouTube channel back in 2017 called The Awakening of Humanity. 1,774 people care. It's one of their most watched videos ever.
Now is the time of the awakening. Now that we have our crystal mountain city, that we know we can receive all the healing and the light and all the help from the great brotherhood of the inner world. That now is the time of the awakening for all earth people, and not only on this one earth world, but on all the 33 confederation planets, is the time of the awakening. And what do we mean by this? This is the time that now man of earth can be receptive to the great healing powers, the light, high frequency energies that have been brought in for many, many thousands of years.
Oh, thank you for that great explanation. What do you mean by the great awakening of humanity? Well, now humanity is ready to receive light transmissions from space people. There you go. Run with that. Uriel proclaimed over and over for years that highly evolved aliens would show up in her lifetime. Like, for sure in her lifetime. Don't even worry about it. The Interplanetary Confederation would fucking show up on Earth 100% in a 33 vehicle space fleet from their 33 planets. And then those aliens, they were going to reveal secrets and stuff. And they've never been real clear about what happens after the aliens land. But it's very important. So make sure that your chakras are aligned and your aura needs to be clean. And you have a clean ween, clean chakras, aura on point. Don't vibrate too much. Don't vibrate too much. Don't vibrate not enough. God damn it. Uriel died in 1993. Her followers, still waiting on that space fleet. And there are others that Claude may have been familiar with when he met his aliens who told him that he was a prophet. The prophet, when he thought, well, if these fucking idiots can build followings off of that gabbly goop, I sure as shit can with mine. Like the Universal Industrial Church of the New World Comforter. That sounds like a fucking weird sci-fi themed mattress store. Welcome to the Universal Industrial Church of the New World Comforter. We have pillow toppers. Or what are they called? Mattress toppers. 30% off this week. This is a UFO religion founded in 1967 by Alan Michael. Less on this one. Michael claimed that in 1947, under his birth name of Alan Noonan, while he was a sign painter in Long Beach, California, he was contacted by the Great Galactic Being, manifesting itself as the Milky Way galaxy, maybe Nimrod, asked him to serve as its spiritual comforter, its spiritual mattress topper, and preach their supernatural truth to the world. At one point, these guys actually had a compound in San Francisco going, had dozens of dedicated followers, maybe even hundreds. Alan wrote 7 different books, but then it all fizzled for some reason. By 2010, when Alan died at the age of 93, he was living in a house in San Francisco with 4 fucking dudes who were his last followers, guys in their 60s. Pretty sure that belief system all done now. And there have been a handful of other typically very small UFO-based religions or cults, depending on how you see it. Raëlism not alone in its subcategory of new religious movements. Okay, now that we've taken a brief tour of the world of UFO religions, let's dig into what Raëlism is about. Raëlism. Go over its core teachings and practices before meeting the man who made all this shit up. Was told all this by enlightened beings from outer space, the Elohim. Like so many new religious movements, UFO-based or not, Raëlism mixes religious and or spiritual teachings people already believe in with extra things that they want their followers to believe in. That's the, base coat and then the new coat. Like typically, most importantly, the divine authority of the founder. Most important tenet of Raëlism is their idea of human creation. Basically, the aliens, the Elohim, they built us humans using some kind of super advanced human builder technology. In the documentary I watched, Prophet founder Claude said that, they could build a perfect human out of a piece of sand, out of anything. Raël also stated that the word Elohim, which is used for God in the Old Testament and is sometimes used to describe just all creatures from the heavenly ethereal world in general in religion, actually a plural term which translates as meaning those who came from the sky. These aliens are from a planet outside the solar system, but within our Milky Way, and there's about 90,000 of them, and they're quasi-immortal, and they can keep cloning themselves to keep living in fresh bodies, fucking Westworld style. Cloning so important to the Raelians. These Elohim are physically smaller than humans, pale green skin, almond-shaped eyes, Asian features, and they fuck each other all the time. God, they love to fuck. And there's no sexual jealousy between them, so everyone can fuck everyone. Right? Guilt-free. Sex is something way more focused on in this branch of UFO religion than in any other I came across. Hail Lucifina. And these Elohim are super feminine. Raël said that the most feminine woman on earth is only 10% as feminine as the Elohim. So they're green and they're a bit small, but also super hot chicks. They have the same anatomy as us. Right? They have very perky green titties. Actually, they are us, but from the future and also the past. The Elohim made us 25,000 years ago, created 7 different races of humans, modeling all of them, right, after themselves. So, we are a form of them, and then how they used to be. And then somehow, I guess they got smaller and possibly greener over time. It gets harder to find them perfectly because Raël's definition of them has changed over the years. They started off more like little green people, and over time evolved more into like hot human Asian women. I wonder if this is somehow related to the fact that now he surrounds himself with hot young female Asian followers who have sex with him all the time. I don't know. Could be coincidence. Early on, creatively interpreting the book of Genesis, first book of the Hebrew Bible and the Christian Old Testament, Raël said that the Elohim, alien scientist responsible for creating humanity, was named Yahweh, and that the first 2 humans, aka biological robots he built, were named Adam and Eve. The Raelians believed that there were originally 7 human races, modeling the 7 Elohim races, but that the purple, blue, and green races unfortunately died out. So that's fucking bummer. I bet there were some super hot blue ladies. And Raelians believed that the Elohim themselves were created by an earlier species of alien, and they before them ad infinitum. Right? They believed, or infinitum, they believed that the cosmos expands indefinitely, both in time and space, infinity being an important concept for them. Right? Inside each atom is another universe, and inside the atoms of that universe, more atoms that have more universes forever. And we're inside the atom, inside another universe, and it gets that way, that direction, forever. As Raël says, everything is in everything. That's a great new agey. Just one of those meaningless terms that sounds very smart. Everything is in everything. And you're like, oh man, I get stuck on this. Just fucking do your stretches. Do your stretches. Focus on your chakras. Everything is in everything. Raelians also believe that the accounts of gods in various mythologies around the world are mostly misinterpretations of memories about Elohim. Right? The tale of Adam and Eve's expulsion from the Garden of Eden, recounted in Genesis. Well, that's really, if you know how to read it, that's a story about humanity's difficult transition from the Elohim laboratories to life on earth, where they had to become self-sufficient. The resurrection of Jesus, well, that gospel tale is really about how the Elohim cloned Jesus, obviously, to restore him to another life after death. Immortality is all about cloning. Who is Satan? Well, Satan, Naughty Pants, chief of a group on the Elohim's planet who were opposed to genetic experiments on Earth and who argued that humanity should be destroyed as a potential threat. Get out of here! No, devil! Fuck you! With space devil! He was a fucking naughty alien guy. The Great Flood, that narrative actually recounts an attempt by the anti-human Satan aliens to wipe out humanity, but then humanity was rescued by an alien spacecraft, which was the real Noah's Ark. Every story is reinterpreted into aliens. And Raël hasn't just reinterpreted Christianity and Judaism. All the other religions, misinterpretations of Elohim activity, right? Or just lies. Various figures who established or inspired all religions throughout human history, Buddha, Muhammad, Joseph Smith, all Elohim prophets. Raelians believe that there have been 39 prior prophets sent to humanity at various times to help them along, each, right, believed to have revealed only the information to humanity that humanity was able to comprehend at that given time. Raëlism emphasizes the idea of progressive truth, and Raël claims he is the 40th and, of course, final prophet. He's not some fucking intermediary chump prophet of the Elohim. He's the headliner. He's the most important prophet. He was chosen because humanity is now sufficiently developed to understand all the truth about the Elohim. Raël initially claimed that he was chosen for this role because he had a Roman Catholic mother and a Jewish father, and was thus an ideal link between two very important peoples in the history of the world. I'm pretty sure they could have picked, a lot of other people that fit the criteria, but he added that he was also selected because he lived in France, okay? Because the Elohim think that France is a more open-minded country than, other countries. It's all making a lot of sense. Prophets, all the prophets, including him, are the result of a human mother breeding with an Elohim dad. So just certain super hot moms. Elohim, they do value beauty very much, superficial beauty. And these fucking MILFs, chosen for their purity of their genetic code, are beamed onto an Elohim spacecraft and given some sweet space dick, which they enjoy very much. And then they're returned to Earth with the memory of the event erased, not because they felt bad about the space dick, but they just don't, the Elohim don't want them to be, ostracized for being like alien-obsessed nutjobs. In his 1979 New York Times bestseller, just kidding, almost no one bought it. It was a book, though. A 1979 book, Let's Welcome Our Fathers from Space, Raël wrote that he was the biological son of the same Elohim scientist who fathered Jesus. Yes, Yahweh. Yes, he is Jesus' half-brother. God, come on, open your eyes. And Buddha's half-brother, too. Fuck yeah. And Raël can telepathically contact his Elohim daddy whenever he wants to, right? He is to hear Yahweh's voice guide him into making only perfect decisions affecting Raelianism. This interesting religion also teaches that the Elohim continue to monitor every human individual on Earth remotely from their planet. They're not just creepy spies. They're doing this. They want to decide, if each various individual merits being offered the opportunity of eternal life later. They're like Santa Claus, but with more serious stakes. All right, are you in the naughty list and you get obliterated, or are you on the good list and you get cloned? Elohim continue to visit Earth to check on us, and this is where crop circles come from. If you didn't know, Raelians generally interpret sightings of UFOs as a confirmation of their belief in the Elohim or Elohim. However, they do not believe the claim of other alien abductees. Nope, liars. Only Raël is currently talking to the Elohim, so shut the fuck up, other alien talker dickhead people. Unless maybe you're talking to a race of, not as cool as Elohim aliens. If you're talking to a dumb, just, JV race of aliens, yeah, talk to them. But not the good ones. Raelians believe that everyone is capable of linking telepathically with Elohim. So I guess you can't talk to them. You just not physical. You cannot face to face. Only Raël is permitted to meet with them face to face, and sometimes fuck them, which he's claimed. We'll talk about that later. Or receive important revelations. You can telepathically engage in small talk, but don't talk about important shit. And do not stick your dick in them. That is only for the prophet, Raël. That's only for Jesus and Raël. Right? Stop it. Raëlism is also a millenarian philosophy. Millenarian being the belief in a coming fundamental transformation of society, after which all things will be changed. Raël claims that since the U.S. military's use of the atomic bomb on Hiroshima in 1945, humanity has been living in the age of apocalypse. And we'll get mentioned again later. Now the human species must choose whether to use science and technology to enhance life or use it to bring about our nuclear annihilation. If humans successfully get to this present age and we can get our fucking shit together by 2035, when the Elohim are destined to come back, if they don't come back earlier, then some of us get to live in an era of advanced technology in which society will be tolerant and totally sexually liberated. All dicks will get sucked, all pussies get licked, but only for the people who get their shit together and totally believe all this supreme truth. Raël claims he is destined to help lead humanity, right? Away from its path of destruction towards this enlightenment. He wants all of the dicks and pussies to get sucked in light. Okay, guys? And if for some reason he can't do this by 2035, well, you know what happens? Well, we get fucking obliterated. Okay? And this particular Elohim experiment is over. Stakes could not be higher. According to Raël, we have to build a proper welcome back to Earth embassy for Elohim by 2035. Otherwise, they're just like, well, I guess they don't care enough for us to come back. And this embassy, it has to have a landing pad for their spaceship. And it needs to be located on internationally recognized neutral territory, so as not to indicate favor towards any one particular nation state. That is not so that the Elohim Raelians can have their own little kind of country and avoid any kind of taxes. That's not what it's about at all. It's about what the aliens want. If and only these criteria are met, the Elohim will then share their advanced technology, cloning secrets, scientific understanding with humanity, and will usher in a utopia where we will never die and we will fuck so much, you guys. So come on, pull it together, please. There'll be a single world government that Raël terms a geniocracy. Haha, see what he did there? Combined genius and, cracy, like democracy. Rule of geniuses, which he discusses in his 5th book titled Geniocracy. His subtitle is Government of the People, for the People, by the Geniuses. Okay. All right, I'm listening. The thresholds proposed by the Raelians in their geniocracy are that candidates who want to run for office have to be 50% above the mean for an electoral candidate in IQ and 10% above the mean to vote. So if the average, IQ is 100, the lowest IQ a person could have to be a candidate is 150, and to vote would be 110. More than half of the U.S. would not be allowed to vote today. And I got to say, I love it. I do like this idea a lot, actually. There will be no war in this new world. Crime will have been ended through genetic engineering. Humanity will be able to travel beyond the Earth to colonize other planets. It's going to be a lot of fun. Robots, right? Ready for more fun? They're going to assume menial tasks, allowing humans to devote their time to pleasurable pursuits. There will be biological robots, which will serve us as sex slaves. Right? I told you, all dicks sucked, all pussies licked. Money won't matter anymore, and we're all immortal. Those of us who get it, at least. The Elohim will just erase everyone else. The Raelian motto is eternal life thanks to science. Cool. We'll be immortal, but we won't be immortal in a God way, right? Because Raelians, they reject the existence of a soul that survives physical death. The only hope for immortality is through science. The Elohim will clone and thus recreate dead individuals whom they feel merit this recreation. It will be done totally Westworld style. They can build a clone of you in seconds, thanks to their super advanced clone computers. And right now they're recording our memories and DNA in all of us. Raël once expressed an interest in cloning Hitler, right? And then bringing him back for some more trials. Yep, for some retroactive punishment. That's a good thing to do. All right, come on, guys. We're in our utopia now. Let's use it properly. Let's bring Hitler back. Let's put him on trial, so we can kill him again. Raël also mentioned cloning as a solution to terrorism by suicide attacks. I don't know why that's going to be happening in the utopia, but when this cloning stuff is back, you don't get to go out that way. Nope, we bring you back, put you on trial. So fuck yeah, it sounds great. It all sounds very plausible. Cloud technology is really going to advance a lot going forward, apparently. So much storage. All of our memories constantly being saved. That would be so cool if some version of that is possible someday. It probably will be. Who knows? There's a lot to like here. Very little that's easy to believe, but a lot to like. Raël also believes humanity is slowly transitioning into a society where humans won't need to work, have jobs, no work, always having a fresh body, sex slaves, got it. Come on, AI and robotic scientists, hurry it up. I only have 40, 50 years left, tops. Raël says we won't have to work thanks to human technological advancement, right? We shouldn't work because humans are not made to work, he says. He stated that work is for machines. Humans are made to create, think, enrich themselves, fuck, etc. Much of Raël's advocacy concerning futuristic technology is described in his 2001 runaway bestseller, Orge's book, Yes to Human Cloning. He supports human genetic engineering so no one has diseases or disabilities. That's very nice of him. He thinks that nanotechnology will eventually make it possible to have micro-distributive power generation, essentially a power plant in each house, fur-like furnishings, where the little hair-like fibers clean themselves. That's good. And all food will be grown in machines in our houses via molecular construction, right? And that same machine, it doesn't just make food. It can make biological robots that you can fuck. He supports everything that's good and cool. Is something good? Is it also cool? He's in favor. Does he have a clue how to create any of this? No, not at all, but for it. So what do Raelians actually do other than talk about how cool all this stuff would be? What are their religious practices? Well, the major initiation rite in the Raelian Church is the baptism or transmission of the cellular plan, enacted by upper-level members in the Raelian clergy, bishops and priests, who can work as transmission guides. Canadian sociologist Susan J. Palmer says that in 1979, Raël introduced the act of apostasy as an obligation for those preparing for their Raelian baptism. Denounce your God, O gods, atheists only, atheists who believe in aliens that are a lot like gods. Joining the Raelian Church through transmission of the cellular plan happens only on 4 different days of the year, right? The 4 big dates marking important anniversaries in the Raelian calendar. Yes, they have their own calendar. The Raelian calendar begins with the nuclear bombing of Hiroshima, right? August 6, 1945. Each year after this date referred to as AH, after Hiroshima, right? We're now, as I said earlier, in the apocalypse age. The Raelian Baptism, known as transmission again of the cellular plan, where cellular refers to the organic cells of the body and plan refers to the genetic makeup of the individual. The Raelian Baptism involves a guide member laying water onto the forehead of a new member. This practice began on the first Sunday in April of 1976 when Raël baptized 40 Raelians. Obviously, this is borrowed from his Catholic upbringing. Raelians believe that this baptism links them to their genetic information that's being stored by a remote computer that will become recognized during their final hour when they're judged by the extraterrestrial Elohim. These guys suck at being atheists. They just mirror Christianity, but call it aliens instead of gods. Another part of their practice, a lot of fucking, mostly of Raël. Raël has recruited his hottest women followers into what he calls Raël's Order of Angels. Beautiful women of all races who work to either fulfill Raël's sexual desires, just hang around and be sexy assistants to Raël, or save themselves exclusively, for sex with the Elohim when they return to Earth. Those are called pink angels. There's only 6 of them. They take vows to remain virginal for their alien gods, except Raël can have sex with them because he's a direct descendant of Elohim God, right? Yahweh. But they're not a sex cult, you guys. No, they're not. They just want sexual liberty for all. Adult, consensual, sexual gratification, mostly for their leader. Raëls actually are very LGBTQ plus friendly. They encourage adult homosexual, bisexual, heterosexual relationships, believe that society should recognize them legally. According to Raël, if we sexually experimented more, we'd all be a lot more sexually fulfilled, too interested in, coming, to keep fighting wars, be mad at each other all the time. I mean, yeah, I guess if we all subscribe to that, sure, maybe, sounds nice. Also very pro-transsexuality, all the sexualities, except for pedophilia, they're for all of them. And I don't think they're for bestiality. Activism, a big part of Raelian practices and worldview. They're trying to make the world better so that the Elohim want to come back by 2035. Raelians routinely advocate for things like sex-positive feminism, genetically modified food, actively protest against wars, protest the Catholic Church, right? Too sexually repressive, too much kid diddling. Most of their activism seems to be carried out by topless or even fully nude attractive female members. Or women with just pasties on. Okay, all right, hey, I'm listening. This is done to raise awareness for gender equality and to take shame and stigma away from female nudity, and also, just because people love sweet titties. Several Raelian groups in the U.S. have organized annual protests claiming that women should have the same legal right to go topless in public that men enjoy without fear of arrest for indecent exposure. Some have called this a publicity stunt designed to recruit members. Probably works. Go Topless Day, one of their annual events with women protesting topless except for nipple pasties to avoid arrest, held near August 26th, the anniversary of the day women were given the right to vote in the U.S., last year, August 22nd. Another thing I do like about them, actually, is letting women whip their tits out in public going to destroy American society like some people seem to think? Is civilization really just hanging on by a fucking thread that thin, just a bra thread? If unraveled, we're all just going to devolve into monkeys fucking in the middle of the street? Or could we maybe learn to control our sexual urges around those of us who don't wish to be clothed? Maybe that'd be a really good thing, right? Maybe learn some more sexual restraint. And also, pretty fun to look at. Raelians. They want to do some good female sexual empowerment work. And they actually have done some. For a while, they had a program called Clitorade, which I know sounds like a fucking shitty type of Gatorade. Gatorade that tastes like vagina. Not sure that's the best flavor for, a hydrating beverage. But Clitorade was actually a little hospital in the Western African nation of Burkina Faso that gave women free surgery to repair their mutilated clitorises due to the barbaric practice of female genital mutilation that still happens there, thanks to some Muslim extremists there. The group also touts a happiness academy to help brighten the lives of their followers, who claims that 100,000 people have attended the courses, and they claim that 100,000 people have attended the courses in over 40 years. How many people are into all this? According to the president of the North American Raelians, there are around 130,000 members in 80 to 90 countries, but they could be fluffing that up a lot. Some people think that most of these members don't actually give the organization any money or show up at really any events. You know, they just think it's cool. Maybe they signed up with a website one time. Maybe it's a joke. Maybe they're drunk. No one knows how many serious members there are. I would guess a few thousand tops. There are chapters all over the planet. Most of them seem just to be a handful of believers. Maybe they have more than I'm willing to give them credit for. In 1997, Chicago Times estimated 20,000 members worldwide. Estimates from 1995 show that there were perhaps 4,000 followers in Japan, 4,000 in Quebec, Canada, and 10,000 in Europe. Miami Herald published their estimates that there were 50 Raelians in Miami and somewhere around 600 in the U.S. in 1996. 2002 estimated that 5,000 South Koreans had fallen for Raelianism, and in 2003, Japan's number supposedly grown to 6,000 followers. And by 2003, the U.S. thought to have over 1,000 followers. But an internal document from 2017 came out from the International Raelian Movement that showed there were 18,101 members worldwide total. What does one have to do to sign up? Well, you have to message them on rail.org. I did not do that because I don't want them to be bugging me. The doc I watched said that basically anyone who wants to join gets to, and you don't even have to buy anything, right? You're encouraged to tithe 10% of your income, but most members do not. So who knows how dedicated those 18,111 people are. From what I've watched, it seems like they mostly survive thanks to a few very wealthy members donating a lot of money. One more thing to discuss before the timeline, where we'll learn a little bit more about them and go over some of these things again as well. Their controversial symbol. This is not a great logo choice. The Raelian symbol is a swastika. Inside, the Star of David. Everyone knows those two symbols are the peanut butter and jelly of symbols. I would say this symbol has, severely hurt recruiting efforts. Why did Raël pick it? Well, in a 2008 interview he gave in Las Vegas, he said, "The symbol is the oldest symbol on earth. You have it, in the Tibetan temple, Buddhist temple, Hindu people. I can say more than 1 billion people on earth pray in temples where you have a swastika every day. And the very symbol which makes the Star of David and swastika is in the Tibetan Book of the Dead. So it's a very old symbol. And of course, it has nothing to do with Nazism. I still think maybe you could have picked something better. Almost any other symbol would be better." On their website, the Raelians explain that their connection with the swastika even further, saying, "The swastika predates Hitler by thousands of years. It was used as a symbol of good fortune before Hitler hijacked it." The word swastika, they're right. The word swastika does come from an ancient Sanskrit word for good fortune, well-being. They continue, "Embedded in the Star of David, it's the oldest symbol known to mankind and is the symbol of the Elohim, our creators. It represents infinity in time, swastika, and space, Star of David. Well, with their 25,000 years of scientific advance on us, the Elohim were able to scientifically prove that the universe was infinite in time, as represented by the swastika, where time is inversely proportional to mass, and space, macro and microcosm, as represented by the Star of David, with both triangles pointed in opposite directions, as above, so below." Okay. And then they link to a website called proswastika.org, which I didn't want in my search history. Some of this is true, right? The swastika, old as fuck, 7,000 years at least. And the world, used to love it until Hitler. Still maybe could have chose something else, though, since this group started, well after World War II. Okay. All right. Now that we have a bit of understanding of who the Raelians are, what kind of world they come from, religion-wise, let's make their profit in today's Timesuck timeline.
Strap on those boots, soldier. We're marching down a Timesuck timeline.
On September 30th, 1946, Claude Marcel Vorilhon brought into the world near the small city of Vichy, population just over 25,000 in central France. But that's not the day that Claude's, now known as Raël, celebrates. Claude believes that his birthday is way less important than his conception day, which he calculates was Christmas Day 1945. Conception Day, in the eyes of a Raelian, is your true birthday. When exactly did your dad come into your mom's vagina? That's what you should be thinking about once a year. And Claude believes it was no accident that he was conceived on his half-brother Jesus' birthday. It was his destiny. According to Raël, his biological father, very important aliens we went over. According to our Earth records, Claude born to a human Jewish man of unknown name. There's almost no information on many of the people in Claude's life before he became Raël. We just have his story. And he says he was raised by 3 powerful women: his mother, his grandmother, and Betty White. No, and his aunt. It'd be weird. Not many people from his hometown who knew him before he became a prophet seemed really willing to talk about him after he became a prophet. Almost always decline interviews. That might be because one old friend did tell a journalist that Claude told him, right after he founded his new religion, that old Claude made all that shit up. And then that guy got sued for defamation. And Claude won the lawsuit somehow, and most people have been pretty quiet ever since. Claude says he didn't know his human father, only that he was Jewish, and that he was raised in Ambert, in the home of his maternal grandmother, who was atheist, along with his mother, who was described as a devout atheist. Ambert, a town of about 6,085 kilometers or 53 miles south of Vichy. In one of his books, Intelligent Design, their website sells 6 of his books, Claude writes, "My birth was an accident, as it were, at least for the little town of Ambert, which is so devoutly Catholic that it is known as the world capital of rosary." And there is a large factory there that makes rosaries. He wrote that his birth was concealed as much as possible, not in a cave, but in a clinic at nearby Vichy. "My poor mother tried for quite a long while to pass me off as the son of a friend she was taking care of for a while, to her father, who, even though he held it against her when he learned the truth, proved to be the nicest of grandfathers to me during the short time I knew him. Sadly, he died when I was still a very young child." He wrote that he was small and not very athletic and was often bullied. Perfect for a future fake prophet. He was a kid who was always chosen last in every sport, adding, "Personally, I did not enjoy playing with the others, preferring to contemplate insects and look at books. At that time, what mattered most to me were animals, which I loved to draw all day long when I was not organizing snail races. I was fascinated by animal life, and I dreamt then only of becoming an explorer, so as to be able to get near the mysterious fauna of the virgin forests." 9 years old, Claude says everything changed for him. He figured out how to shoot lasers out of his hands and how to teleport to anywhere or when in the space-time continuum. Or he discovered his true passion, speed. He loved anything on wheels, with or without an engine. He started off riding downhill on a bike with almost no brakes. He said to liven things up, I'd position myself at the top of a hill, wait for a fast car to pass by. Then I would launch into dizzying pursuit, catch up with the car and pass it, to the driver's great surprise. And once at the bottom of the hill, I would turn and go back to wait at the top for another car. A few months later, I found myself chance attending the Tour de France motor race, and it was love at first sight. He says that is what inspired him to want to become a race car driver. And another source, Claude has a slightly different story about what inspired him, saying that, one day at school put on a soapbox derby where he actually emerged as the winner. That gave him the confidence and, inspired him to become a race car driver. Either way, dude wanted to be a race car driver. He would write, "From that day on, my life was centered only around motor racing. Nothing else interested me, and I did not see the point of learning all they taught me at school, since I was going to be a racing driver. Children's comics were replaced by serious motor magazines, and I impatiently began counting off the years that separated me from the age when I could obtain a driver's license." His mother didn't buy the no school phase her son was going through, so she sent him to a boarding school. He then attended a Catholic boarding school, the Notre Dame de France, in Le Puy-de-Velay, hours drive south of Ambert. Said his mother was hoping that if he didn't have access to racing magazines, that he'd straighten up and fly right. He hated his new school. He was homesick. He said, "I remember many nights crying in a huge dormitory." But then he discovered poetry. Yes, poetry. Writing. "I'd always been more attracted to literature than to mathematics, although only as an interested and passive reader. Then came the need to write, in verse if possible. I even wrote an entire collection of poems and won first prize in a poetry competition. While at the Catholic boarding school, he caused a scandal by taking part in communion for 6 months without being baptized. Oh my God, they should have killed him. No, he also says that he was 9 years old when he went through puberty, saying, I enjoyed it very much. And discovering unknown and secret pleasures which no other 9-year-old in the dormitory seemed yet to know about, was some consolation for my incomplete solitude. So he was horny at a very young age. He's 75 now and still seems very horny. I think this horniness has been the primary motivating factor for him to create the religion he did. His grades improved in boarding school, and his mother withdrew him and put him back in school in Ambert. But then he got so interested in some girl his age named Bridget. This little horn dog's grades slipped, and the next year he was back in the boarding school. This time, the small village of Kulha. I don't know. There's no pronunciation guide. It's a tiny village. Just half an hour down the road from Ambert. He says the school here was worse than the one at Puy-en-Velay. Writing, we were all crammed into a tiny dormitory that was barely heated. And worst of all, there was virtually no discipline. So the biggest and strongest boys enforced their own law. I think that's where I developed such a hatred of violence. One day he couldn't take it anymore and he ran away. He said no one noticed at first. Probably didn't, I don't know, sad. He didn't have a lot of friends. By the time he was discovered by his principal, he had walked 10 of the roughly 30 kilometers to his mother's house. He was now kicked out, sent back to school at Ambert, where he could see his little girlfriend Bridget again. He started to skip school more and more shortly after he returned home to avoid the priests who were hell-bent on having him baptized, he said. But his devoutly Catholic mother decided she was going to let Claude decide for himself if he wanted to be baptized or not. At this point, almost a teenager now, he wants to become a garage mechanic, knowing that's important to racing, but his mom not about to let him fuck off with his studies. She wants him to be an engineer. He rebels against his studies by brooding around writing poetry instead of going to school. At the age of 14, he's sent back to boarding school again, this time in Mont d'Or. Last stop kind of school, 2-hour drive west of Ambert that took kids that no one else would take. He wrote, I found myself in the company of a fairly interesting collection of dunces and hard cases. It was one of the latter, a typical boarding school big shot, who ended up being responsible for the direction I took during the next 10 years of my life. His name was Jacques, and he played the electric guitar, which quite impressed me. As soon as the Christmas holidays came, I got my grandmother to buy me a magnificent guitar, and Jacques taught me a few chords. Then I started setting my poems to music, and noticed that it was apparently very pleasing to those who listened. As soon as the summer holidays came, I began to enter some radio singing contests, which I almost always won. He's a fucking winner, you guys. We couldn't find evidence of any of these victories, but he really would become a professional musician later. And there's plenty of evidence for that, so, I buy it. He would write that women started to notice him now that he was singing, hiding his shyness behind a guitar. And because almost all he thought about was girls, the guitar now becomes very important to him. Race car dreams can wait a few years. At the age of 15, 1961, Claude makes a big choice. He writes, one day I took my guitar under my arm along with a small suitcase, said farewell to the boarding school with its uninteresting studies, and hitchhiked to Paris. I had 2,000 francs in my pocket, a heart full of hope. At last, I was going to earn my own living, save up enough money to take my driving test at the age of 18, and become a racing driver. He said he lost all his money, though, before he learned he could earn a coin by playing music on the street. Then he did that. He was a busker for 3 years. Eventually worked up into playing in cafes, cabarets. Another guy who wanted to be a rock star, who ended up becoming a prophet and having sex with his followers. Oh boy. Charles Manson, Dave Koresh, Father Yod, Tony Alamo, and now Claude Vorilhon. He slept anywhere and would often have to pay more money to get a gig than the gig paid, he said, but he's romanticized this. This is him again writing all this. We do know he gave himself the name of Claude Seller. Vorilhon had a passion for the songs of Belgian singer Jacques Brel, tried to imitate his singing style, writing, I began to win a lot of radio contests, and by singing in several cabarets, I was able to live reasonably well, and more importantly, to save up enough money to take my driving test at exactly 18, as planned. He was still pursuing the racing dream while moonlighting as a budding pop star. First, I had to make a name for myself in the hope of being hired by a major company, and for that I needed to have a competition car, participate in some races independently, and if possible, win them. A racing car is very expensive, and I had to continue saving in the hopes of acquiring such a vehicle. I continued with my singing and trying to put some money aside. Many writer-composer friends had made recordings and seemed to be making a lot of money from them. So I decided to try it, having by now more than 150 songs in my bag. The first recording firm that I approached offered me a 3-year contract, which I signed. The director of the recording firm was Lucien Maurice, director of the radio station Europe No. 1, which had launched a tremendous number of famous singers. My first record was fairly successful, and the second, thanks to a song called Le Miel et la Cannelle, I don't know if I'm saying that part right, but it's honey and cinnamon, was even more popular. It was often heard on the radio. But singing wasn't going to be for him, not professionally for very long. Although he says he was selected to be in a big song contest called the Golden Rose of Antibes, Maurice came to him one day, his mentor, and said he was going to withdraw him from the contest. Claude believes in retrospect, that was because his alien guides didn't want him to focus so much on music. Don't become a famous artist. We need you for something else. Or it was because other musicians were better at music than him, more popular, or that. Here's a song. You can decide how good for he is for yourself. Here's a song of Claude's from 1967. Little ditty. Seems to have gotten some French radio play. The title translated to English is interesting. Sir, your wife is cheating on me.
Croisez mais pas votre femme je sais jusqu'à l'endroit où vous rangez vos pantouflets, votre cache-nez. Depuis que nous nous connaissons, toujours eu de vos nouvelles avant vous et votre maison, toutes mes nuits étaient pour elle. Monsieur, votre femme me trompe.
There was just a flute back there, but I thought it was a slide whistle for a second. I was like, oh, that's great. So I don't know. I guess he's pretty good. I have no perspective on this because I don't fucking listen to this kind of music. 60s French folk pop, it's not a genre I gravitate towards often. Not long after he dropped that hot track, Claude was married to his first wife, Marie Paul. Marie. According to Claude, they would not leave each other's sides, for many years after the day they met. Claude wrote that Marie's parents forced the two to get legally married after being together only 3 months because they declared they would never get married religiously. Her family was very old-fashioned, he wrote, and at first I prayed with them before meals. They would go on to have 2 children together, their daughter Aurore and their son Romuald. Claude never mentioned, either in the documentary I watched, either kid. It seems as if he became quite the absent father, like so many so-called prophets seem to do. Marie was interviewed in 2003, in which she was described as trembling with loathing at the mention of Raël. So they didn't part on good terms. She says that Claude abused and brainwashed his own family, ruined her and the 2 children's lives. They were so young and innocent, she said. They should have never been exposed to the debauched and wicked things that went on in our home. She's talking about a lifestyle of nudity and orgies that is to come soon, but not yet. Claude hadn't figured out yet how to become Mr. Famous Prophet. All these people are lucky to sleep with me, this God guy yet, and the kids wouldn't be born for a couple more years. September of 1970, Lucien Maurice, the radio station Europe #1, music director, his mentor, biggest musical supporter, completes suicide and bye-bye to his music career. Claude said he now knew he was not going to make enough money singing to buy his way into the racing world, still a dream of his, so he searched for something else that would. First, he took a job with the company he sang for, and according to him, I found myself back in Bordeaux, where I was a commercial agent in charge of 15 regions. I stayed there for a year, then left when I at last had enough money to buy myself a competition car. I just had time to break that car in before a friend got into an accident. Dang it. Then a wealthy friend of his offered to finance another Claude Stellar record. So they did that, but it wasn't a hit. Spent another year living off his poetry somehow. Never disclosed exactly how he pulled that off. Remember, this is just him telling the story. And then he had another major life change, writing, on a very tiring tour, I fell asleep at the wheel of my car, struck a wall head on, at about 100 kilometers per hour, 60 miles per hour. More than 10 people had already died at that spot. I came out of it with several fractures, but alive. I was immobilized for 3 months or more, and my savings ran out. I was still not racing. I, who had dreamt of starting out at 18, had still not entered a single race. He's 25 or 26 now. He was pissed at himself, felt he didn't know any more about how to be a race car driver than the excited droves of kids that all wanted to be racers that lined up at the racetrack. But then he figured something out. He could write. He would become a race journalist and speak to those kids and figure a different way into the sport. So he tried contacting a bunch of racing magazines, but no one was hiring. He wrote, I noticed a small advertisement then in the motor section of L'Equipe from someone looking for photographer reporters. No experience required. I wrote, the advertiser replied saying that my application had been considered, but that I had to send 150 francs for administrative costs. In exchange, I would receive some film to make a test report on a subject of my choice. I sent the money, got back the film, wrote the report. His report was about auto racing, of course. He received a call from what he thought was the head of a publishing company that placed the advertisement. The man seemed interested in his ideas about the creation of a sports car magazine intended for young people, who hope to become race car drivers. Offered Claude the job as editor-in-chief of this new auto magazine, showed him the factory that he was buying to house the printing office in Dijon. Claude thought all this, it's fucking great. He's going to cover races. He's going to participate in them. He's going to run his new partner's race competition department. This is the answer to all his, prayers. Week after the phone call, Marie and Claude, they moved from Paris to Dijon, a 4-hour drive away in southeast France, but the move did not work out as planned. Turned out that the head of the publishing company, who was supposed to be a rich guy, was actually a guy who just got out of prison and had no money. He scammed upwards of 500 people like Claude, from anywhere between 150 and 300 francs. He wrote, I had worked 2 months for nothing. found myself full of ideas but penniless. This time I decided to make a start alone in the great world of publishing. I moved to Clermont-Ferrand, a city of about 150,000 near where he grew up, close to my mother, who was then looking forward to becoming a grandparent very soon, and started my own publishing house to produce a magazine my own way. This magazine was soon born, thanks to a printer who also loved sports cars and who agreed to take the risk of extending me credit, though I could not give him any form of guarantee. In his book, he writes that the magazine was called Autopop. It quickly took off and soon became one of the leaders in that field. At the same time, he started to race, test drive new models of race cars. He was fucking loving it. He goes, at last, my dream was becoming a reality. And what is more, I found from the start that I was a gifted competition driver, gaining many victories with cars that were unfamiliar to me. And no one has been able to verify that he won any races. But who knows? For 3 years, he lived like this. But then in the winter of 1973, everything changed again. He would meet a little 4-foot green alien with long dark hair. Fuck yes, about time we reconnect with aliens. The Raelian website describes this monumental, earth-shattering event as follows. At the age of 27, on the morning of December 13th, 1973, while he was still running his successful racing car magazine, Raël had an extraordinary encounter with a human being from another planet at a volcano park in the center of France known as Puy de la Solace. This extraterrestrial gave him a new detailed explanation of our origins and information on how to organize our future, as recorded in the book Intelligent Design, which you can purchase here. After 6 consecutive meetings in the same location, Raël accepted the mission given to him to inform humanity of this revolutionary message and to prepare mankind to welcome their creators, the Elohim, without any mysticism or fear, but as conscious and grateful human beings. Well, Raël describes the incident in multiple books, and it is as cliche as it gets. Between December 13th, 18th, the familiar Eloha, his term for the single form of Elohim, showed him the symbol of his future cult, right? The very tasteful Nazi-Jewish hybrid logo, which apparently was engraved on the alien spaceship and emblazoned on his spacesuit. Yahweh the alien, Jesus' dad, then told Claude it meant as above, so below, right? Very common, popular occult saying. Yahweh gave materialistic explanations of the Garden of Eden, a large laboratory that was based on an artificially constructed continent, as well as Noah's Ark, a spaceship, that preserved DNA vials, used to resurrect animals through cloning. They talked about the Tower of Babel, which was really a rocket that was supposed to reach the creator's planet. Talked about the Great Flood, byproduct of a nuclear missile explosion that some, other Satan Elohim sent. After tidal wave floods following the explosions receded, the Elohim scattered the Israelites, had them speak the language of other tribes. December 18th, 1973, Claude meets Yahweh for the last time that year on a Tuesday. On that day, Claude is given the name of the religious movement he is supposed to establish. His new name, Raël, also given, he said means messenger of those who come from the sky. They tell him that after humans dropped the atomic bomb in 1945, humanity had entered the apocalypse age, and that we had a choice now of either entering the scientific golden age or we could become extinct. Claude was instructed to form a group to help humanity avoid the latter option, right? And this group is called MADECH, M-A-D-E-C-H, an acronym with letters that stand for French words that translate to Movement for Welcoming the Elohim, Creators of Humanity, also stands for other French words that translates to Moses preceded Elijah and the Christ. It is a double acronym. That's how fucking powerful it is. That's how you know this new organization is legit. Yahweh the alien presents Claude new commandments on that Tuesday concerning the establishment of the geniocracy, economic humanitarianism, world government, his mission to catalyze these endeavors and to hasten the return of the Elohim to earth. He's given all this stuff. According to Raëlism mythology, after a few months considering this huge task, telling the world about the Elohim, Claude almost developed a stomach ulcer before finally deciding to give up his much-loved career as a very successful sports car journalist and race car driver and devote himself fully to the task assigned to him by Yahweh, his extraterrestrial dad. Right? And how fun is this? Right? He gets his fucking mission from his space daddy. How cool from him. He's told that he's the most important person in the world in the history of humanity, and he gets to meet his dad. And at least one important part of the story is definitely bullshit. A lot of evidence that his magazine Autopop had actually gone bankrupt. He had to close it because car racing in France was temporarily canceled earlier that year due to an oil shortage. There was an oil crisis in France in 1973. The Prime Minister, Pierre Mesmer, suspended all auto racing, leaving Claude with nothing to report on. So the 27-year-old with 2 kids was out of a job again. Then before his visitations, he'd been out to dinner with some friends, according to one of those friends who would talk to a magazine, journal or author later. And the subject of extraterrestrials came up. Several reports of UFO sightings have been written up in the local papers of Central France recently. Right? This all makes me think of that quote, necessity is the mother of invention. Another twist on that. Desperation is the mother of invention. Claude was desperate and needed a new revenue stream. He'd already tried being a pop star and being a race car driver. No dice. So now he becomes a prophet. At the dinner, Claude went on about how badly he wanted to meet extraterrestrials. And then, a few months later, he does claim to meet them. How convenient, right? About fell over my chair there. I got excited, moved around too much. There is also some evidence that shows that Claude was way into books by Zechariah Sitchin and Eric von Daniken about ancient aliens seeding humanity. And that he had also read a French sci-fi comic book at a friend's house that basically described his experiences that he would claim he had with the Elohim almost exactly. So a bit suspicious, right? A lot of people, have accused him of plagiarism. We met both Sitchin and Daniken in the Ancient Aliens and Ancient Sumerians Suck, that episode 255. After his alleged series of encounters, Claude decided to take his notes to a publisher. After not getting a satisfactory reply, he asked for his manuscript back, but then he's offered a spot on a popular TV show at that time called Great Chessboard, presented by Jacques Chantel. He was the director of a book series at the publishing house that had received his manuscript. He expressed a liking for the script, whether anyone believed it or not, Claude recalled. So the newly Christian Raël tells his story now to a TV audience. While the guests in the audience did laugh quite a bit, lots of letters were written in making fun of poor Claude, who was just trying to save the world. Oh my God! He didn't ask to be new Jesus. Alien Daddy told him it was his job, cut him some slack. Some people thought he was speaking the truth. Why? Well, because some people are crazy. We know that. Also, the ancient alien theory happened to be very popular in France this time. People wanted to believe this shit. So this appearance gives Claude confidence in the document he's produced, which would now become his first book, the book which tells the truth. How do you know that a book is true? When it says it in the title. According to Claude, his wife offered to leave her stable nursing job to help him publish his exceptional document. Everyone's fucking pumped. Claude's new movement first takes off thanks to a 1974 conference in Paris he arranged after his TV appearance. He hosted roughly 2,000 people, preached what he learned from his alien encounter, used his publishing skills to advertise this super cool, only we can save the world event, and it works. His timely messages of world peace, well received. Raël tells his new followers that the world is sick. Right? It's his job to help heal it, to purify it. He's very important. And jumping a bit ahead here to preview what's to come, Raël will soon learn that nothing sells better than sex. Hail, Lucifina. Claude will tell his new followers that the days of fucking to have kids is over. Days of childhood are over. Full-grown clones can be quickly built in this great future paradise. Right? Because parenting's tiresome. Fucking for fun is so much better. Come on, let's just have fun, everyone. Touch my dick real quick. Do you want to save the world or not? Put it in my mouth, at least a tip. We have to stop war and evolve peacefully so that Elohim will usher in a wondrous new age. Let me stick it in at least 2 or 3 holes. I can't focus on being a prophet if I'm so horny. Come on, just take off your shirt. He taught followers that sex would only be for pleasure, not procreation, in the new world order that the Elohim could make for us. Designer cloning, going to eliminate the need for traditional childbearing. Also in the new world, the anatomical differences between men and women are going to be, just for sexual pleasure. But otherwise, gender is irrelevant, right? Dick, pussy, it doesn't matter. There's no patriarchy, no matriarchy. It's just different forms of fun. Raël taught sex unity or erotic plurality between and among all genders. Let's all rub our parts all over one another, in and out of every hole. To quote Betty White from last week, everyone's getting drilled, all holes must be filled. His followers planned frequent seminars where Raelians would abandon their preconceived sexual preferences and monogamous boundaries. There are rumors, lots of rumors, that these seminars were, basically just orgies. Right? Stretching one's libido was labeled as an intellectual exercise for Raelians, thought to replenish brain cells, practice self-actualization, potentially even communicate with the Elohim directly. Sexual meditation would become a core element of the religion. Hail Lucifer, so much fucking. Raëlism is mostly about fucking. Despite a professed indifference to gender, Raelian women were upheld as enlightened lovers and playthings, thus often dressed seductively, flirted openly. Raël encouraged male followers to be more like women, actually cultivate feminine qualities. Raël himself tried to become more soft-spoken, effeminate, dancing, singing at events, dressed in flowing clothes, long hair wrapped into a man bun, which he said acted as an antenna to commune with alien beings. So that's what man buns do. But all this really won't get going for a few more years. Not until he sees the aliens again. His second encounter, much more exciting. Right now, in the very beginning, Raël is working hard to establish MADEC. By December 13th, 1974, 170 MADEC members are forming an organization of a president, treasurer, secretary, more officers. Everybody signs over 10,000 franc checks payable towards the publication of the first Raelian book. It's working. He's making money. Susan Palmer, Canadian sociologist, expert on weird religions. We met her earlier, has written that in UFO platform societies like the MADEC organization, there was no obligation of membership and commitment like those found in cults, but rather an open place where people could freely exchange their views and relate their experiences on the subject of UFOs. So that's good, right? While he's taking these people's money, he's not demanding they give him all their shit, forsake their families, slave away from him for him at some compound. This shit's unusual. I don't believe any of Claude's claims, but also mostly harmless, I guess. Only the first Raelian book had surfaced at this time, and Palmer says that it had consisted largely of a creation myth and, this is a tough word, eschatology. But it had no rituals, no priesthood, no experiential dimension, no coherent system of ethics, which would lead to an organized movement that had any chance of committing to large projects guided by a leader. That stuff will come later, for real. More and more members are coming in for this still loosey-goosey organization. Regional offices form in several communities around France, right? A country with ancient alien fever. I got a fever, and the only cure is more alien. The media was immediately critical, right? Bunch of assholes like me who just can't accept someone's obviously bullshit and incredibly self-serving, egomaniacal story. Things are going pretty sweet, though, overall. Pretty well. But not as well as Raël wanted. Much of his early followers were sci-fi nerds and hippies. Not the kind of people that would change the world. And I think more importantly, not the hot women he wanted to fuck. His alien party was real nerd sausage heavy at this point. So he decides to pull off a little nerd purge. March of 1975, Claude gathers together many of his officers in Paris, fires them, all right, to save from his Save the World mission. He's purging his leaders that are hampering his creativity, he says. He told the MADEC folks he needed to rid the organization from the kind of occultism and pseudoscience which contradicted his true, correct point of view, right? And also, too many fucking nerds, you guys! It feels like a Trekkie convention, god damn it! I'm trying to get my fuck on! I'm trying to get my dick wet, and he's dressed like Captain Kirk! He didn't tell them that exactly. He told them they needed to focus on the Raelian view of Elohim extraterrestrials exclusively. He dismisses most of his core members, replaces them with an inner circle of 7 hot women friends, or just people, whose mission was to inform the public of the Raelian messages and to raise funds for building an embassy for extraterrestrials. Excuse me, I keep drinking water here and there. Comes up. June of 1975, Claude resigns from MADEC. Time to rebrand. He speaks of a personal desire to settle in the countryside, write an autobiography of events happening prior to his purported extraterrestrial encounters, beginning on December 13th, 1973. While he's working on that, he has an intense encounter with the Elohim after a quick UFO sighting to establish more credibility. July 31st, 1975, along with his wife, Marie, and a devoted former MADEC member, Francois, he sees a UFO near his new home in the countryside near Clermont-Ferrand. He said that the glowing craft performed aerial start and go maneuvers along a zigzag path. He thinks this is verification that his new location is, where he's supposed to be, right place, right time. Then October 7th, 1975, an hour before midnight, after having a sudden urge to observe the night sky, he goes out, right, to the countryside, Rock Plat, an uninhabited place between 2 brooks surrounded by forest. Spacecraft suddenly lands, shines a bright light behind a bush. He then meets the same extraterrestrial from his first encounter, Yahweh. Daddy, it's good to see you! Daddy's back, everybody! After a few words, Space Daddy takes him onto the spacecraft. They fly to a remote base, relatively close to our solar system, where he's given a resort-style relaxation treatment, including an organic breakfast, yum, over an hour in a jacuzzi of warm blue liquid, slightly thicker than water. Awesome. Nice! Thanks for the hot tub, Space Daddy! On the morning of October 8th, still off-world, Raël sits mesmerized, listens to a 3-hour lecture from Yahweh Elohim about his religions and philosophers, the need for geneocracy, Hinduism, Islam, Buddhism, talks about ideas of God and soul, then travels to another planet, the planet of the Eternals. Oh, hell yeah. According to Claude, the planet they now visit, orbited around a very large star, has a climate similar to the rainforest of Earth. He says here he sits down with some Elohim, has a meal with major prophets, has a meal with Buddha, Moses, Jesus, Muhammad, his half-bros, his bros being bros. Guide then shows him installations that house machines for creating biological robots, clones. He gives a picture of his mom to a machine, which almost instantaneously creates a similar appearing biological robot. That night, he claims he receives an introduction to build his future home at the planet of the Eternals, and then, oh shit, he's presented with 6 young, curvy as fuck female biological robots. The most beautiful young women you could ever imagine, who also seem to have huge tits. Claude, clearly a boob guy. Space Daddy, you shouldn't have. You're spoiling me. And these ladies fuck Claude all night long. They almost break his earth dick off. They were created to please his every desire. To quote him, they were submissive to his every desire. He fucked those robots so hard, you guys. He's living his best Westworld life right now. He's totally forgiven Space Daddy for abandoning him as a child. He is more than made up for that. Claude said that one time before reaching a climax, he wore a helmet which played music controlled by his thoughts, which the females then danced to. And then he came so hard. Oh man, I bet his thought music went wild when he came so hard. Probably some Sabbath, maybe. Too bad fucking Stryper wasn't around yet. Claude said that upon waking the next morning, October 9th, he took a scented bath, fucked his robot lady some more, probably. Doesn't say that, but I'm assuming. Then soon after, Yahweh, Elohim, presents Claude a machine which will maximize his faculties. They give him a fucking system, operating system upgrade. Yahweh then gives him a bunch of, you're the best, we love you, you're the chosen one advice. Such a great space daddy, so supportive. Raël then spends a few more hours on the planet doing yoga, of course, eating some more organic food, giving a long guided meditation session, enjoys what the world has to offer, more sex, meets with more, prophets. It's all great. It's all so great. By midnight of October 10th, 1975, 666 days after the first meeting with the Elohim, minutes after the last one, Claude, aka Raël, back in France. His entire experience had taken exactly 72 Earth hours. And what he experienced would become the content of his second book, The Extraterrestrials Took Me to Their Planet. Very straightforward title. Now, Raëlism is mostly about fucking. October 7th, 1976, Claude seems to luck out with his followers. About 50 Raelians are gathered in a rural area of southwest France for their first anniversary of the contact on October 7th, 1975. Suddenly, someone cries, what is that falling from the sky? Great flakes were falling from the near cloudless sky, he wrote. They seem to be made of a cottony substance, which when touched, melted in a few seconds. I don't know, snow maybe? I don't know, October, maybe it's early snow. Then someone cried, look, there is something very shiny in the sky. I would love it if it's just snow, and they're like too fucking high. Like they all got high, and they forgot what snow looks like. It's daytime, it's 3 p.m. when this happens. Claude wrote in one of his books that 2 luminous objects, both very bright, were just above us. The fall of the flakes lasted about 10 minutes. Then the objects suddenly disappeared. I would love if the objects were clouds. Roger, a guide from Toulouse, who worked in a research laboratory, was able to obtain a sample of the cottony flakes, but upon taking them for analysis, they vaporized or melted. This solidified shit for those followers and was religion's most witnessed miracle. God, please let it be snow. Did that happen? I don't know. Claude said it did. March 14th, 1978, Raël now claims he receives a new telepathic message from Space Daddy. It goes like this. Beware. It is not impossible that other extraterrestrial civilizations will make contact very soon with the people of the Earth. I imagine that's how they talk. They are people we have also created scientifically in another part of the universe, and with whom we maintain presently no direct communication for reasons that we cannot explain to you without creating a serious imbalance. You must simply know that we are counting on you to reveal to those people their true origin, for they are your brothers from space, and like you are looking for their creator. Tell them the truth about their creation by revealing to them the book which tells the truth and the message of October 7th of year 30 of the age of apocalypse. This is the only message Raël had received telepathically in 3 years. He said that all men should know, or nearly all, they should already all know that what they needed to know from the first 2 messages. Also 1978, Raelians have a conference for the French press. announcing their vision for a worldwide political movement, right? About the geniocracy. Almost no one attends. Of course not. There's people like, no, we're not going to that. But then in March of 1978, one of their members is voted onto the city council of Salah, a small town in southwestern France. Now they have an important government on their side. Small town city council official. Now they're going to be taken seriously. Despite having a member as a high-ranking government official, due to the authoritarian nature of the geniocratic model of government, the Raelians are considered a cult at this point, thanks to their swastika logo as well, and the police seized documents from Rael's home as well as from the homes of other Raelians. Oh well. The cult continues to grow, even if the authorities aren't respecting them. How much is never revealed in sources. Hard to get concrete numbers about membership. Again, they'll claim well over 130,000 at one point, but I doubt it. 1979, new members of the Raelian movement now asked to sign an act of apostasy, as we talked about earlier, right? Got to get rid of your old religion, get more serious. Also, sign a contract permitting a mortician to cut a piece of bone from their foreheads when they die, because that's their third eye. And that specimen is going to be stored in ice in a Swiss facility until the Elohim return, because they might want to use that to fucking clone them, bring them back, totally. Also, those joining expected to bequeath their assets, give us your stuff when you die, although that's not obligatory. So that's a little culty, but at least not obligatory. 1980, Claude publishes another book, Sensual Meditation. Fuck yeah. Sex, sex, sex. Also, the Raelian messages are published in Japanese for the first time as part of a Raelian mission to Japan. 2 years later, 1982, Africa becomes another target area in their mission to spread Raelian messages. Did I mention that when Claude said he fucked those 6 alien robots or, bio bots or whatever, one was a beautiful Asian woman and one was a beautiful African woman, right? I think almost all of this was motivated just by his sexual fantasies. May of 1983, Claude, traveling to Japan, visits a famous landmark that survived the atomic bombing at Hiroshima, known as the Hiroshima Peace Memorial. He finds a small but growing group of people in Japan that will become members of his little crew, including some very wealthy members who will help him a great deal in the future. Nice! 1985, Raël and his first wife, Marie, get divorced. She has had enough of this alien pseudoscience sex cult bullshit. When she was interviewed later in 2003, she said she witnessed frequent nude gatherings in the living room, says she was treated as a servant while he brainwashed their preteen children into believing he was a divine messenger for an alien race. She says the kids believed him. They had it drummed into them since before they could talk. What he did to them was hateful. He devastated their lives. No child should be expected to witness adult nudity that exists in an environment so close to having people having orgies. Yeah, probably a good call to keep kids away from the orgies. Meanwhile, Claude is traveling around the world, singing songs about aliens and, doing a lot of fucking. Sundown one night, 1986, in a restaurant just outside Vatican City, Raël claims to members that he is the true pope and plays guitar, about extraterrestrials. So, he's having a good time. He's living his best life. 1987, Raël gets married again to Japanese follower Lisa Tsunagawa. She began accompanying him during his travels to Lima, Brazil, and Martinique following their marriage. They seem to have had a very open marriage, at least for him. They will separate sometime between 1990 and 92. Not a lot is known about her. Between 1990 and 92, Claude, 44 years old in 1990, sets his eyes on a 15-year-old ballet dancer named Sophie de Niverville. Her mother and aunt, both Raelians. Sophie will receive a Raelian Baptism at the age of 15, and right when she turns 16, she gets married to Raël at Montreal City Hall. So that's gross. That's not creepy at all. Definitely not doing any of this to chase his dick around. Thank God that is the youngest person he seemed to go after. I mean, still way too young, but at least not like fucking 10 or something. 1990, Australians became the next Raelian target. They gathered some members there. February of 1991, the Raelian Church modifies their symbol. They're tired of running into roadblocks with the swastika. Go figure. So they modify it into like a little sun-looking kind of thing. And they modify it not because just so they can market better. It's because Raël received a new update, a new telepathic update from the Elohim to change it in order to help negotiations with Israel for building their embassy there. Third Temple of Israel, where they were supposed to, have the Elohim come back and land and all that shit. And they have to have that built by 2035 or everyone gets annihilated. Despite the symbol change, though, the Israeli government continues to deny the request to donate them a couple square kilometers of land in Jerusalem, to build their temple. That's weird that they just wouldn't give them a bunch of land. Not having luck in the Middle East. 1992, Raelians have better luck in Canada. They purchased 115 hectares Why does that word always throw me? But hectares in Quebec can be used in a series of summer seminars in North America. Their leader gives this place the name the Prophet's Gardens, and they'll have a big estate built here. Quebec will become the epicenter for Raelian campaigns and testing of experimental ideas for years to come. August of 1992, former member Jean Paraga tries to kill Raël, tries to shoot him, believes that Raël was manipulating his wife and children into participating in orgies. No criminal charges ever made here towards Raël about having sex with anyone underage, but I'm sure he was fucking people's wives. Those charges never would come. I think he's a creep, but I don't think he went after like young children. I hope not. December of 1992, Raelian project Operation Condom is launched in response to a veto of the Montreal Catholic School Commission against the installation of high school condom vending machines. This is a little creepy considering he's, just married a 16-year-old. A mobile condom vendor, a pink van dubbed the Condomobile, was orchestrated by a Raelian who advocated the notion that extraterrestrial Elohim wanted the teens to live a long life of pleasure. And they criticized the commission by quoting statistics about teen pregnancies and sexually transmitted diseases. About 10,000 condoms are distributed. I mean, I like, that they're giving away condoms, but, this pissed off more than 10,000 parents because a UFO sex cult led by a dude in his 40s married to a 16-year-old, is showing up near a fucking high school encouraging the kids to fuck. So, sketchy. Montreal, July 7th, 1993, Raelian conference about masturbation is held, entitled Yes to Self-Love. Hosted by Betty Dodson, a sex educator, also by Raël and by one of his Raelian bishops. Betty speaks about her dream of a worldwide masturbation campaign for the 2000 New Year's celebration. That's funny to me. God, if the whole world could get together and diddle and jerk, God, it'd solve everything. Raël talked about how masturbation helps us link to the cosmos, and then Daniel Chabot, a local college psychology professor, might be Shabbat, and Raelian spoke about the psychological benefits of masturbation. Shabbat's statements, along with his bishop status and the sect, and his purported use of his psychological credentials to attract new recruits, leads to some controversy. Sounds like it would have been super fun to get high and attend that Raelian jerk-off conference. I had no idea that masturbating could link you to the cosmos. I'm surprised that I didn't fucking float off into outer space when I was around 17. I was so linked. I couldn't have been more linked to the cosmos at that point. 1994, some rich Japanese Raelians give their leader a race car. He's back to his race car dreams. He's living all of his dreams. He's a race car driver. He's singing songs to his followers all the time. They treat him like a rock star. He's got groupies more devoted to him sexually than most rock stars or race car drivers. I'm guessing, he has the coolest dad ever. October 7th, 1994, Raelians began implementing their own version of baptism in front of a baptismal font inside of St. Peter's Basilica in the Vatican. In response to Catholics' complaints, Vatican guards, escort them off the fucking property. Take them to the exit gates at the edge of their little city there. Same week, Raël purportedly hands a copy of one of his books to Pope John Paul II, so he said. I doubt it. I fucking doubt it. There's no way the Pope would meet with this nut. Right? I think here he just wanted to show his followers, he's on the same level as the Pope. He's the real Pope. He's flexing a little bit. I just love imagining him. So Pope, I would like to read my book. Thank you, Claude. What's it about? It's about how you popes completely fucked it with the Bible, and there's no God, just aliens who make fuck clones. And one of the most important aliens is my daddy. And he's also Jesus' daddy. And we're going to build a welcome embassy. And when they land by 2035, you're going to be obliterated. That sounds very interesting, Claude. Thanks so much for stopping by, and I appreciate the book. March of 1995, the Raelians attain religious corporation status in Quebec and are therefore eligible to apply for federal tax exemption in Canada. But then the tax department balks, and they don't meet the full requirement of religions who believe in transcendental and immaterial beings. They make an appeal, doesn't go through, but then in the U.S., they do achieve tax-exempt status, and they'll move their corporate headquarters later to the States. August of 1997, UFO Land, a huge UFO-themed compound, opens in the group's Quebec estate in Valcourt, about 30 miles east of Montreal. Its purpose was to inform the public about the Raelian interpretation of the UFO phenomenon and to attract funds for the Raelian Foundation. Right, we got to build this embassy. Audio-visual presentations in 6 different rooms display teachings about the Raelian message, sightings, government cover-ups concerning UFOs. In another room, the first one when you walk in serves as an attraction for their proposed Raelian embassy, right, for extraterrestrials, or used to. Didn't stay open for very long. While we're here, let's look at what they wanted this embassy to be. It's pretty great. Raelians believe that the embassy for extraterrestrials, or third temple, is to support an official contact with extraterrestrial Elohim and their messengers of the main religions at the new Jerusalem. Sorry, this becomes like word salad after a while. So it has to be super fucking sci-fi looking and cool as shit, right? The last thing you want is for aliens to show up and laugh at your temple, and then Earth just gets obliterated. No way, Jose. Nah. The International Raelian Movement envisions having an entrance with an aseptic chamber leading to a conference room for 21 people, as well as a dining room, same capacity. In the plan, 7 rooms for the purpose of receiving human guests into the embassy. The embassy building, along with a swimming pool, Elohim love to take a dip in their fucking pool. Everyone knows that. And the pool will be in the center of a large park and protected from trespassing by a wall, a maximum of 2 stories to surround the entire complex, its circumference. Gotta have a wall, right? The Elohim, they love a swimming pool. They hate trespassers sneaking in and dipping in their pool. Get out of here! We're trying to fuck our clone bots in the pool, and you're killing the vibe. God, we're gonna have to obliterate you now. Trees and bushes are to be planted in the outskirts of the walls area. Walls are to have a northern, southern entrance. Landing pad for the embassy should be able to fit a spaceship with a diameter of up to 39 feet 4 inches on its terrace. The terrace is to be above the rooms in the torus, which are for extraterrestrials only, kind of like extraterrestrial green rooms, backstage passes only and stuff to get there. 7 rooms directly underneath the landing pad will be protected from occupants of other rooms with a thick metal door. Don't want people eavesdropping on the Elohim. Finally, the International Raelian Movement wants to avoid military and radar surveillance of the airspace above the embassy. It's fucking no-fly zone. It pisses aliens off. Buildings for administration, food and water provisions, state-of-the-art sanitation, communication systems are a must for this never going to be built vision. May 31st, 1997. The Raelians now found Clonade, a human cloning organization registered as a company in the Bahamas. We talked about this quite a bit in the Celebrity Cloning Conspiracy Suck. You can check out episode 258 if you want to go deeper on some clone efforts. Cloning is how you become immortal, right? Obviously in the Raelian faith, very important. Clonade announced in an issue of the popular science magazine New Scientist. And the announcement alarmed the fuck out of bioethicists who were opposed to random yahoos doing this kind of shit. They warned lawmakers against failing to regulate human cloning. At the time, European countries such as Britain had banned human cloning, but the U.S. had merely put a moratorium on the use of federal funds for human cloning research. June 9th, 1997, Clonade states its intention to offer homosexual and or infertile couples the chance to have a genetically identical child, take a step towards immortality. According to an internet announcement, the Raelian leader and a group of investors founded the company in the Bahamas, right? Call it Valiant Venture Limited. The project mission, Clonade. Valiant Venture claimed to expect to have 1 million potential customers, just a bit off. They would have 1. On December 13th, 1997, now 51-year-old Raël would bring forth to his followers and to the world a new message from the Elohim. The Elohim declared the Raelians were the new chosen people, and the Elohim believed Raelians are the ones closest to us and promise rewards to the faithful. Oh, yeah! So much hot alien sex slave, biobot, clone dick sucking and puss licking right around the corner if you just stick around with us. Very exciting. Elohim also expressed frustration about the lack of progress on the embassy and now claimed the real Jewish people did not live in Israel, even saying the link we have with the people of Israel is about to be severed. Oh, they're pissed. And the new alliance is coming to an end. You fucked up, Israelites. The Raelians now don't have to build their embassy in Jerusalem. I love it when prophets do this. The world won't play ball with their prophecy, so bingo bango, new prophecy. Nice. The area of the proposed embassy property still envisioned, right, as being, 3.47 square kilometers, good size. Elohim also used this update to praise Buddhism. It's the religion closest to the truth, right, saying that more Buddhists will become Raelians. And then this transmission ends by heaping a shit ton of praise on Raël, assuring his followers, God, he's so great. He's the best you could hope for, and he's going to live a long time. He's very strong. Thanks, Space Daddy, for the ego boost. June 15th, 1998. Brigitte Bosseler, the Raelian lead scientist in Clonade, announces a small clone setback. She says the headquarters of Clonade, now located in Las Vegas, and that Clonade, so sorry everybody, doesn't have enough funds for human cloning. Raël assures the faithful everything's still fine. The secrets of cloning will be made clear when the Elohim show up if they can't figure it out before then. Let's just focus on building fucking cool embassy, you guys. And, a bunch of sex. Speaking of a bunch of sex, also 1998, Raël establishes the religion's order of angels we talked about. Right? The most beautiful female followers are to be the, ambassadors of the group, and fuck him. After his announcement, women submit applications by the dozens. They have to have headshots sent in. He said that the Elohim said, we prefer to be surrounded by individuals of great beauty, corresponding to the absolutely perfect original models of the different races we created on Earth. The aliens want him to focus recruitment efforts on hot chicks. This is not his call. Don't be mad at him. Sorry, dudes. Sorry, non-model type ladies. Hot chicks only in the inner circle. By 1999, Raël has selected 165 women to join this Order of the Angels. The White Angels, right? He gets to fuck all these ladies. It's going to be great. Their job is to make him comfortable. Then additionally, he picks 6 extra elite pink angels, right? A recreation of the sex robots he had sex with. These women ordered to follow strict diets in order to maintain genetic purity to make the aliens happy, not allowed to have sex with humans, only the Elohim, and of course Raël, because he's half Elohim, right? This is the most cult-like thing he's ever done, I think. The aliens want him to have a harem of super hot sex slaves. Only he gets to fuck these ladies. He and Space Daddy, of course. He's actually pulled this shit off. This is unreal. Next year, Raël's former teen bride Sophie divorces him. She is not pumped about the new harem. What a weirdo. What a fun-hating prude. September 21st, 2000, Raël holds a meeting in his Montreal hotel where he announces that a wealthy American couple is willing to fund Clonaid. Cloning mission back on. The first pending clone, according to Raël at the time, is the couple's deceased 10-month-old girl. So sad, preying on grief here. He says that the couple is willing to pay $1.5 million to clone their deceased daughter. It's terrible. Lead clone scientist Basileia reveals the roles of 4 scientists she says are involved: a biochemist, a geneticist, cell fusion expert, French medical doctor. Doesn't reveal their identity though, because I don't think they exist. Some experts knowledgeable of scientific advances in the field of cloning think they might actually be able to pull this off if they have the right team, right? Because human reproductive chemistry is better understood than that of most animals like sheep, and those have been cloned. They think that a higher rate of success is possible in human cloning compared to animal cloning. However, there is no evidence that Clonaid had anyone on board with even close to enough medical knowledge to pull off cloning someone. And even if they did, it would be a person who shared the same genetic makeup with a cloned person. We talked about cloning a lot in that Celebrity Cloning Suck. Due to the way genetic replication works, they wouldn't actually look identical to the person they were cloned from. And they wouldn't have the memories, personality. It's not a fucking sci-fi replica, the type Raël has been preaching about. 2001 UFO land closes. Why? Because fucking no one wants to go there. No one cares about it. March 2001, Clonaid project leader Basileia says that a woman will be pregnant with a clone fetus in April. According to a CNN article that November, the Clonaid laboratory was outside the U.S. Clonaid claimed it had already developed human cloned embryos. Due to Clonaid's association with Raelians and the lack of evidence for cloning, authorities remain skeptical as to their ability to pull this off, which they should have. They were not. Plus, the Raelians, were keeping their lab a secret. Spring of 2001, the FDA, their Office of Criminal Investigations, inspects Clonaid's lab in the small city of Nitro in West Virginia. This is so great. We talked about this in the celebrity episode. It was located inside a rented room within a former high school. Staff scientists reviewed the lab's research documentation, found it inadequate. The entire work of the lab was the work of a lone grad student, extracting ovum from cow ovaries from a slaughterhouse. Yep, just one employee, non-scientist graduate student who was deemed, quote, woefully unprepared. The FDA immediately determined that this environment was hardly ideal for advanced research. They wrote in their report about insects flying in through open windows, possibly from a nearby barn. The officials said this was no place where sterile conditions could be had. The FDA did note that equipment in the lab was state-of-the-art and had been bought by Mark Hunt, right, the former West Virginia state legislator, the guy who gave him $1.5 million. Following investigation of the West Virginia lab, Mark Hunt agreed to not continue with his cloning efforts. So sad. And how pathetic was this fucking clone lab? And the Celebrity Cloning Suck, I named that lone grad student Todd, right? Remember Todd? Remember how after being shut down, he struck out on his own, opened Todd's Clone Shack? Let's see how business has been at Todd's Clone Shack in recent months. Today's Timesuck is brought to you again by Todd's Clone Shack. Todd's former lab in the Baylor Biotech Medical Plaza, right off the old Spanish Trail Highway in Houston, Texas, sadly closed down for health code violations. But now, Todd's back. Todd has a new location in Boise, Idaho, across the street from the Chuckarama Buffet on West Overland Drive. He's in a horse trailer parked between the Panda Express and Ocean Nails and Spa. Inside that trailer, you'll find Todd tirelessly working on clones by himself, 7 days a week, 12 hours a day. Call 1-800-MY-CLONE to get a hold of Todd. If he doesn't answer, well, he's probably busy cloning. Todd can take care of all your clone needs. He's got beakers, a lab coat, a master's degree in sociology, pretty clean horse trailer. He's $500 away from owning it outright. He's got a bachelor's in criminal justice. He's got several notebooks, a lot of pens, petri dishes, quite a few animal parts, mini fridge, and some kind of thing he bought at a Star Trek convention he's calling a clone tank. So call, make an appointment, and have yourself cloned, or clone your kid, or make a fuckbot sex slave clone that looks kind of like Rosario Dawson, or maybe Penelope Cruz or Blake Lively. Todd's Clone Shack, if it's got bones, he'll try and make clones. So that was fun to do. I love how fucking low rent their clone lab was. I love that they actually did have one sad grad student trying their best. They're so crazy. They might have actually thought this could work. July 2001, the Raelians do something good. They protest on the streets of France, handing out leaflets to protest 100 child molesters in existence among Roman Catholic clergy in France. They recommend that parents should not send their kids to Catholic confessions anymore. The Episcopal Vicar of Geneva sues the Raelian Church for libel, does not win. So they protest them as well. I mean, all right, they fucked up with cloning claims, but this protest, I like it. I think the members of some of these churches sort of boycotted going to these churches entirely until all the information was released regarding hiding child molesters to state prosecutors. Purge yourself of those sins or crumble into dust. Late 2002, CloneAid's branch in South Korea, Biofusion Tech, now says a woman has become pregnant with a clone. Nothing more than another publicity stunt. They cannot clone shit. November of 2002, there was an assassination attempt on Raël. Not really. Not this time. Mentally ill man breaks into one of the group's properties in France, damages some stuff. Raël says that this assassination attempt is part of the Abraham Project, a joint operation between the CIA and French intelligence agencies to assassinate him using schizophrenics directed through mind control. Totally, that makes sense. And when that didn't work, I guess they just abandoned the Abraham Project. Maybe they remembered that no one important actually cares about Claude. December 26, 2002, Brigitte Bossuet announces the birth of baby Eve, human clone. Gets a bunch of media attention, ethical debate, claims of it being a hoax, and it is, another publicity stunt. CloneAid does not show verifiable evidence of this cloning despite claims they will do that within days of the announcement, right? There is, no evidence still that Eve ever existed. January 5th, 2003, Bossuet says to the BBC that her medical team produced hundreds of human clone embryos, two of which led to live births. Man, they just keep milking this, and they're getting more publicity. The head of the UK Roslin Institute is critical, saying CloneAid has no track record, but claims to have cloned hundreds of embryos. Doesn't ring true. A Raelian spokeswoman from Japan then claims that a baby boy has been cloned from a comatose 2-year-old of a Japanese couple who was born the previous day. Again, not true, but they get more conferences out of it, getting their name out there. The Raelian movement promotes 2004 as the year of atheism by creating the website thereisnogod.com. Ridiculous, because, they're not atheists either. Not really. February 2004, CloneAid now claims that a 6th clone baby is born in Australia. They just will not shut the fuck up about clones. March 2004, CloneAid claims that 8 extra baby clones have been brought to term. There's 13 baby clones now. So many fake clones. October of 2004, struggling to get more clone publicity, Raël goes back to sex sells advertising. And the 58-year-old now poses with his pink angel sex slaves in an issue of Playboy. Since its leader's first abduction, Raëlism has waffled back and forth between the overt objectification of women and convenient empowerment of women. They've campaigned against female genital mutilation. They've appointed women to powerful leadership positions as clergy and organizers. And their leader has a gaggle of young sex slaves who must adhere to strict diets and satisfy his every fucking whim. It's a weird line they walk. 2006, the Raelian movement launches a public fundraising effort, Clitoraid, to pay for repairs of clitorises, right? We talked about that, for women in Burkina Faso, the home of the biggest Raelian community in Africa, where excision is rampant. Raelian members raise money for clitoral reconstruction surgeries by putting money in a, quote, clit box kept on their bedside tables every time they have an orgasm, which I think is pretty cool, actually, To their credit, they do build a clitoral reconstruction center, and they get surgeons to volunteer their time, and 25 women get their clits restored before the government shuts down the center for not having their credentials. The surgeries, though, do seem to have been successful. So those weirdos, have done some pretty good stuff here and there. They've also been, as I said, super pro-trans rights for the entirety of their existence. In the Raelian village near this surgery center, followers would wear colored bracelets. The colors would signify what their sexuality is: heterosexual, homosexual, polyamorous. Also only interested in one partner, not interested in any partners, multiple partners, etc. As long as everyone is an adult and consenting, there is no judgment there. And I do feel like a lot of their views on sexuality are pretty good. I like the honesty of it. I don't, you can just be like, I don't like monogamy. I don't like sex at all. I like sex with men, women, both. I like group sex, one-on-one. Love that they were wearing bracelets, just advertising who they were. Refreshing level of honesty. 2006, the group claims that more than 60,000 total people have been baptized since they formed in 1974. February 2007, the Raelian movement puts up for sale their UFO land headquarters. All right, they'll sell it to next year. Just didn't work out for them. And then they moved to Las Vegas in May of 2007. Great place for them. They had planned to build a space, not a space. They planned to build a place or buy and renovate a hotel in order to conduct seminars, but that has not happened yet. October 7th, 2010 in Japan, the first Raelian temple is created near Narita, Japan. It's called Korindo, which means light coming from the sky. About 1,500 devout Raelians apparently do their Raelian stuff out there. And the whole thing was paid for by one of Rael's longtime wealthy Japanese followers. 2014, the church organizes a march to New York City in which dozens of women bare their breasts, right? Go Topless Day goes viral. More publicity. It appears on the surface to advocate a worthy cause, desexualizing the female body, thus creating a safer public environment for women. But is that why they did it? Or does Rael just want to see more titties? Because he's a very horny dude. I'm 100% for free the nipple. I think women should be able to go bare chested anywhere a man can. It would be liberating. And also full transparency. I just love seeing women's breasts, right? They're super great. They can really turn your mood around. I think that was probably his motivating factor. He just wanted to see more boobs. September 2018, rapper Kid Buu claims he was a human clone produced by Clone8. And, that was just a blatant publicity stunt again. I don't think Kid Buu knows much of anything about the Raelians, other than they're associated with Clone8. Raël and Raelians no longer claim any connection to Clone8 by this time, by the way. And then on December 25th, 2020, on the 74th anniversary of Rael's conception date, one of his prominent followers writes a letter to President Trump to release all files on UFOs. And I do not think the letter quite made it to the president's desk. So what are the Raelians up to now? From what I can tell, the Pink Angels seem to be still fucking their leader, who's now 75. He and his followers still talk a lot about building that embassy to welcome the Elohim by 2035 so we don't get obliterated. They're looking at maybe Hawaii now. Seems to me like Rael is just trying to keep this party going. Right? This little sex and worship me party going until he dies. He's almost there. Some cult experts interviewed in that recent doc seem to think that when he dies, his UFO religion's probably going to die with him. Let's pop out of the timeline now. Talk about all of this just a bit more.
Good job, soldier. You made it back. Barely.
The Raelians, a whole new breed of cult. Claude Vorilhon, living the dream, right? For many men. He's in his mid-70s, still running around with gorgeous women with their tits out all across the globe, living in nice homes, paid for by wealthier followers. Many of these followers have seemed to support him, at least partially, because they believed in his mission to clone humans in some kind of sci-fi movie way that could create true immortality for them. That, of course, has not happened and won't, might not ever be possible. Recreating true identity, right? Memories, personality, all that. A lot of scientists don't think that's ever going to be possible. I like to think it is, but only because I'm a sci-fi nerd and I want it to be true. But even if it is going to be possible someday, not possible now, some version of Todd, the Clone8 grad student, sure as shit not going to pull it off. Has Claude conned his followers with all this clone stuff? Or does he think that the right follower can actually pull it off? What does he actually believe about all this? Right? His group has raised supposedly tens of millions of dollars to build his Welcome Back to Earth Aliens Embassy Center, but they haven't broke ground yet. Right? Where's the money gone? Funded the nonstop sex party of Claude's life? Is old Claude Maurice Marcel fleecing the fuck out of his followers? Is he mostly good? Mostly bad? He told his followers that his order of angels had to be hot women because the Elohim, quote, prefer to be surrounded by individuals of great beauty, and that they're, trying to get humanity back to its original beauty, the beauty of the prototypes they'd created for each human race. But if that was true, why couldn't they just fucking build some new ones with their handy-dandy clone machines? They could make a hot person out of a piece of sand. They could. Hard not to see that as anything but this dude just wanting to fuck as many hot women as possible. The whole marrying the 16-year-old, the orgies his ex-wife talked about, the inner circle of 6 pink angels who can only fuck him. Hard not to see this guy as being manipulatively sexually, or as anything but being manipulatively sexually predatory. Watching him interact with new members at a recent ceremony in that 2020 documentary film, there's a scene where he hugs new members for the first time, and it's obvious he's a creep. He hugs young, attractive women much longer than anyone else, comments on their beauty. Meanwhile, he says nothing to men at all, seems annoyed they're even near him. Seems like this whole thing is mostly about Raël getting his dick wet. He wanted to be a rock star, race car driver. Those 2 careers, to me, read as the kind of careers that a dude who really wants women to think he's cool would want. Girls did not think he was cool when he was a kid. He admits that. But then he figured out that they liked it when he sang. And it feels like from that moment forward, his whole life has been dedicated to wanting attractive women to want to sleep with him. And also to being admired. Everyone please think I'm the cool guy. The coolest guy. The one guy aliens need to save humanity. I think, speculating here, he chose aliens as the vehicle for him to get all the attention he wanted because ancient alien lore happened to be getting buzz when he lost his race car magazine in France. Others were already claiming to have aliens talk to them. Others had recently built UFO religions in the previous few decades, and he knew about all that. He knew that it could work, and so he gave it a shot. And then he got enough good feedback to keep going, so he doubled down, impressed some hot ladies who showed up at his meetings, doubled down again, got more people to show up, people who gave him money to fund a lifestyle where he got to sleep with more attractive young women and continue to not work, and he's just been saying what he needs to say to keep all that going ever since. That's what I think. So is he a piece of shit? On some level, yeah, probably, I guess I think he is. But he's also championed for gender equality. He's helped 25 women have clitoral reconstruction. Watching interviews of followers, many of whom are homosexual, transsexual, pansexual, anything outside of heterosexual monogamy, they do seem to feel very empowered by his teachings. And I guess, that's good. But can't you form a group that preaches all that good stuff without all the Elohim, let's build an embassy, welcome center, I need money for that bullshit? Yeah, I think you can. So final judgment, he's an old creepy horn dog who's completely full of shit about all this. This whole thing is mostly about sex. But no one's forced to join. There's no punishment for leaving. You don't even have to, fuck Claude to get extra immortality points. So I guess if something like this makes you happy, you could pick more nefarious groups to be a part of or waste your money on. If you want to get fucked by an alien bad enough to fuck Claude on the off chance he's an alien, I guess go for it if that's what makes you happy. In that doc, The Prophet and the Space Aliens, several followers interviewed said straight up that even if they found out that the whole origin story was a lie, they would still be glad they believed it, because becoming Raelian changed their lives in many positive ways. It gave them more confidence, made them less afraid of the world, and, they've got to do a lot of fun stuff like have orgies and wait for aliens to show up. I bet this belief system has made them a lot happier than the belief systems of major religions that have made millions and millions of their followers feel, or how they've made them feel. So I guess Raelianism is not the worst. Pro-women, but kind of sexist. Pro-sex, but kind of predatory. Anti-war, anti-genital mutilation, but also pro so much bullshit. No way this is true alien stuff. Love-affirming, but also some doomsday stuff with the belief we have to figure everything out by 2035 or be obliterated. Good and bad. Like most of life, I guess. At least the doomsday part is barely focused on. He's only mentioned a few times. It's definitely all interesting, and maybe no more dangerous than just about any other religious group. I wonder if in his private moments, when he's meditating on some beach in front of some estate paid for by a follower, shortly after having more group sex from, with people who worship him, I wonder if old Claude, former, little skinny, last picked for everything French kid, thinks, holy fuck, I did it. I actually did it. I pulled this shit off. I wanted to be famous. I want the women to love me and to lust after me. And look at me now, you motherfuckers. I don't know. Time now for today's top 5 takeaways.
Timesuck Top 5 Takeaways.
Number 1, Raël started as a kid with the dream to be a race car driver and a day job of being a pop singer, who's big, this is how I will get women to love me. When those dreams died, he decided to start an alien sex cult. And it worked. Third time's a charm, I guess. Number 2, while Raelians call themselves atheists, they really are not. They've just replaced the old claims of the abilities and duties of gods with new claims of aliens and sci-fi technology. Number 3, a lot of the ideals that the Raelians champion are actually pretty good. Sexual liberation, female empowerment, however convoluted and tone-deaf Rael's attempts have been at times, a government run by the best and brightest of us, he could have worse ideas. Number 4, clones. Core part of Raelian philosophy is the concept of Westworld-type clones. Doesn't seem possible at the moment, but what an exciting idea. Can someone please get to work on this so that we can live forever and have Westworld-style fuckbots? Come on, nerds! Hop to it. Number 5, new info. Did you know that Raël awards the title of honorary guides to men and women who are not Raelian, but who, like the Raelians, dedicate their lives to changing the world in ways Raelians endorse, like eliminating nuclear weapons, eliminating God-related sexual taboos, and promoting human rights? Who has won so far? Not me, sadly. After today, I don't think that's ever going to be in the cards. Not even Michael McDonald. But Madonna has, and George Michael, Lauryn Hill, Michael Moore, Bill Gates, Hugh Hefner, Hugo Chavez, Eminem, Rosie O'Donnell, Warren Buffett, Sean Penn, George Soros, right? Is he an Illuminati puppet or is he a champion of the Raelians? Many others. And somehow also Mark Zuckerberg and Michael Jackson have won. Come on, pick me. If fucking Michael Jackson can win, why can't I win? If you're somehow right about all this, I want to be invited to the clone orgy.
Timesuck Top 5 Takeaways.
Raelianism UFO sex cult has been sucked. I hope you enjoyed it, right? Some people in this interesting world of ours make their lives especially interesting. Thanks to the Bad Magic Productions team for their help every week. Thanks to Queen of Bad Magic, Lindsay Cummins. Thanks to the Reverend Dr. Joe Paisley, pulling a little extra time on production to get this one done this week. Thanks to BitElixir for upkeep on the Timesuck app. Logan, Art, Warlock, Keith, creating the merch at badmagicmerch.com for running socials with Liz, the Enchantress Hernandez. Thanks to the All Seeing Eyes, moderating the Cult of the Curious private Facebook page. And to Beefsteak and his mod squad. Thank you for running Discord. Next week on Timesuck, we dive into another Space Lizard voted in topic. This time, Dr. Death. Another Dr. Death. Not Harold Shipman. No, Jack Kevorkian this time around. Kevorkian, a.k.a. Dr. Death, a.k.a. Jack the Dripper, a.k.a. Sir Kills-A-Lot, a.k.a. the Doc who stopped the clock, a.k.a. the Glock Doc, a.k.a. the Assassination Station, a.k.a. the Kick of the Bucket from Nantucket. And those are all fake, except for the first two. I like Jack the Dripper. Dr. Kevorkian was a physician from Michigan and caused quite a bit of controversy when he advocated for physician-assisted suicide, helping terminally ill patients end their lives with dignity on their own schedules instead of waiting around for their disease to end their lives after a long and painful illness. Well, he did more than just advocate, actually. He built a machine called the Thantron, a series of injections released upon the press of a button that would help patients painlessly move to the other side. Dr. Kevorkian called it his calling. The state of Michigan called it murder. While Dr. Kevorkian believed that the Hippocratic Oath to do no harm might actually apply to helping patients die and not prolonging their suffering, law enforcement saw it differently, and he was seen as a murderer, a mad scientist who had been obsessed with death for years, a man who wrote controversial articles about dissecting death row inmates, a man who gave himself hepatitis C when conducting his own wacky blood experiments. Then, during his trials, many working for the courts were stunned to see the families of the dead he'd helped kill come out in droves in support of him. They loved him. They said he'd helped, them beyond what the medical establishment would do, that he provided true compassionate care, that he was a model doctor. So who was he? Model doctor, or murderer? We'll dig in next week. Right now, let's head on over to this week's Timesucker Updates.
Updates? Get your Timesucker updates.
First update is a great message of Polish respect, coming in from Super Sucker Ryan Hill, who writes, Dearest Suckmaster Oligarch, Dan, love the show, been listening to it since day one. I don't really ever want to censor anything, and in the past I laughed when you bagged on your wife's Polish background. Hilarious, but after current events, I think you should switch it up. Instead of bagging on them, glorify them. After watching a country selflessly open their doors and their kitchens, I will never make another Polish joke. Moms leaving strollers at entry points so that Ukrainian moms entering have a stroller. These people are the salt of the earth. And mind you that I know it's in good fun when you make these jokes, but I, for one, am now going to do Russian jokes instead. How many Russians does it take to invade a country? 0, because they don't have directions. It's a simple ask, but when things settle and hopefully those two nations are still standing, I, for one, would like to visit and spend a shit ton of money there. The biggest hearts, the biggest set of balls are there, and I would like my eyes to see both. Loyalist and Timesuck OG, Ryan. Ryan, hail fucking Nimrod, brother. Yes. Hail Nimrod, you're right. Absolutely. No one is doing more for Ukraine right now than Poland. I agree. When the dust settles, I want to visit both places as well. Lindsay, if we didn't have kids, she would want to be there right now. She wants to go help so bad. We will be donating. Hopefully, we can volunteer in other ways too going forward. It's fucking beautiful what they're doing. The Polish, the Ukrainians standing up to the nation, making the rest of Earth tremble in fear. Thank God we are at least imposing strong sanctions, and that the Western world has stopped buying Russian oil. Again, death to Putin and to his propaganda and hate machine. Now, a quick note on Betty White from Top Shelf Sack Jim Newland, who writes, just got through listening to the Betty White Suck, and it is hands down my favorite episode. What an incredible woman she was. Her achievements were off the charts, and through it all, she was still the nicest person in the room, and it didn't matter who else was in that room. We should all aspire to be more like Betty. Yes, hell yes, Jim. Hail Betty White as well. What a great reminder to be a positive person, work hard, love strong, enjoy life to the fullest. I've had her in mind a lot this past week. Called my own grandma Betty right after recording last week. Another good Betty. Now let's have some comedy. Cummins law victim Christopher Hernandez writes, Huzzah, Lord of the Suck. Greetings to the Queen of Bad Magic. Howdy doody, Dr. Reverend Joe Paisley, and all the individuals in the Suck Dungeon. I'm not that good at storytelling, so please forgive me. I've been listening to Timesuck, scared to death, is we dumb for 2 years now. Since back in 2020, made it a mission to listen from episode 1 of Timesuck to catch up to where you're at now. One of the things I've tried so hard to avoid is being a victim of Cummins law. Well, today became the fucking day, March 9th, 2022. I work at a dog hotel as an animal care associate. That's awesome, where I literally care for dogs, which is the greatest job I've ever had. At work, we have 2 separate daycare yards. A large daycare for the bigger dogs, small daycare for the smaller dogs. The large daycare has both an indoor and outdoor area where larger dogs can roam, also located in the back of the facility next to the parking lot. I'm listening to the Timesuck episode about Ed Kemper. Right after my lunch, I step into the large daycare center, connect my phone to the speakers, which blast the last portion of the episode. First thing I hear is you going on a tirade about fucking a severed head. Not knowing that my boss is in the parking lot outside, at the same time, a coworker walks into the yard, partakes in your rant about fucking someone's severed head. I struggled to lower the volume of the speakers and was filled with instant regret and embarrassment. Mistakes were made, LOL. My boss has yet to approach me about the situation, but I don't think I can show my face to my boss anytime soon. Sorry about the long story. I felt the need to paint a picture. My fiance and I are huge fans of yours, even to the point where your stand-up comedy has interrupted our sexy time, with both of us busting out laughing to one of your jokes. If you can give a shout out to my fiance, Ivory, that would be lovely. We're both bummed we can't make it to the Wet Hot American Summer Camp event due to lack of funds, but we're both huge fans of your comedy and love how you've evolved your podcast. You're one in a million. Keep it on sucking. Praise Bojangles. Whee! Oh, Woody. Where's Woody been? Well, thank you very much for the kind words, Christopher, and hello, Ivory. Maybe don't listen to me during sexy time anymore, right? Maybe you should put on, for sexy time, an X-Files theme song, right? Be inspired by this episode. Pretend you're a couple of fuck clones. Just a thought. Good luck with your boss, Christopher. Maybe you lucked out and they have a severed head fetish. Or maybe that's, the worst possible outcome of this. But thanks for sending in your message. And we will go from that Cummins Law message to another one. This one just really hit me. This is very, very specific. This made me laugh so hard. Just the unbelievable amount of awkwardness. Swinging Sack, Jewel Morlag writes, Hey Dan, I think I found a new way to get Cummins Law. So my wife and I have been practicing ethical non-monogamy for about half a year, which is to say we are swingers. A couple that we like very much, my wife and myself, were laying around post-coitus, God, and we were all telling one another how great a time we had just had, and I poached your everything was perfect, 3 out of 5 stars joke, in a way I thought was obviously a joke. These friends seem to think I'm kind of funny, and I'm used to being the source of a lot of laughs we have. No one laughed that time. Took a bit of awkward as fuck explaining that joke, but like I said, these two are really cool, so it was fine in the end. We went along, with our great night. 3 out of 5 stars has become a verbal meme within our little clique now, and I chuckle and praise Lucifina every time we say it. Thanks for being my favorite comedian and all the content you and the team make. Oh man, thank you, Jules. That made me laugh so hard to think about how fucking awkward it would be after awesome group sex just to actually bust out. Oh, it was great. Yeah, 3 out of 5 stars. I imagine you did it real dry. Yeah, 3 out of 5 stars. And they felt so insulted and it was so uncomfortable. Thank you for sharing, and hail Lucifina. And now one last, much more serious message from awesome sucker, Sarah. I will leave her last name out. And Sarah writes, "Hi, Dan. I've never written a podcast before. This feels really dumb, but you talk about mental health a lot, so here we go. I don't expect anyone to read this, but that's okay. I just feel this weird need to put it in writing. I'm 49. I've been struggling with depression and anxiety since at least middle school. In 10th grade, my mom hung herself in our barn, so obviously it runs in the family. I'm so sorry. Never been able to work very long because I get too anxious, or a bout of depression that lasts too long kicks in. I just end up quitting. So I don't have my life together like normal people seem to have. 2 years ago, I felt suicidal and was hospitalized. And after that, I had a ton of group therapy, got on the right meds, and got the perfect therapist. Before, I couldn't do any of that because I didn't have insurance. But thanks to marketplace insurance, I was able to get the proper care. I was thriving. Yes, still had some bad times, but able to cope. A friend gave me a used travel trailer, and I was working for DoorDash. It was great, and I was doing the best I had been doing in a long time. And then the bottom dropped out. I know you expect your parents to die, but my dad was 72 and very active. One day, he was working on the side of his house, and the next day, he couldn't speak or respond to anyone. He was in the hospital for a week and a half. All he did was groan like he was in pain, babble nonsensical words. My brother and I had to finally make the decision to remove his oxygen, let him go. That was December 30th, 2021. This is what goes through my head 75% of the day now. Dad's dead and he's never coming back. I wish I was religious so I could at least say he's happy in heaven, but I don't know. I just know I would give anything to have him back. He helped my brother care for my 96-year-old grandmother, who was verbally abusive for most of my life to me. My brother has mental issues and can't care for my grandmother alone, so I moved in to help. Here's the thing. I can't even hold myself together, let alone take care of me right now. Now I'm caring for a person who can't walk, needs meals made, help showering, etc. My brother is super depressed, so he sleeps all day. He helps when he can, but it's overwhelming. I struggle most days to get out of bed and care for grandma, and then I try to make myself DoorDash for 6 hours, then come home, care for her. I feel like a lot of days like I want to kill myself, but I have a 25-year-old daughter who means everything to me. I think if it wasn't for her, I would end my life. Some days are good, but a lot of days my mind is so dark, I don't want anyone to know. I don't understand why, but listening to your dark podcast comfort me. Well, that is good. You make me feel better for a while because I forget about my troubles and the voices in my head stop because the topics are interesting and you're funny. Thanks for that. Sorry for the long oversharing email, but it was cathartic to write. Sarah in Texas. Sarah, so sorry that your life has been especially fucking rough recently. I'm not sure what advice to offer you about your grandma other than Googling social services in your area. See what kind of care options are out there that don't involve you and your brother. I personally don't think not your responsibility to endlessly take care of someone who was an asshole to you growing up. If there's a home you can put them in and get some of your sanity back, I say be selfish in a good way and do that. And also, so random, but have you ever tried magic mushrooms? I'm no doctor, I'm no therapist, but in addition to looking back into group therapy in your area, if you can make the time for that, do you know anyone who sells magic mushrooms? There are more and more studies, like good studies, being done with amazing results regarding fighting depression, severe depression, and anxiety with psilocybin mushrooms, legit studies, promising results. Even my doctor, very conservative, approves of my use of them. You do need to look into the medicine you're taking. If you are taking medicine for depression, do some thorough searches of that combined with mushrooms to make sure that there is no adverse interactions. There shouldn't be, but just check. They can give you a really awesome perspective shift, a deep one to your core. I've left a link to a very interesting recent study done at Columbia University in today's show notes. You can download these notes using the free Timesuck app. Just go to this episode, click the 3 little dots in the right-hand corner, upper right-hand corner, and then, you can figure it out. So best of luck, Sarah. Definitely brainstorm, strategize about how to improve your situation. Even if what you end up doing doesn't work, I strongly believe that just looking, trying means that you're hopeful, and that having hope is always better than feeling hopelessness. So hail Nimrod, you wonderful motherfucker. If I can make a living as a podcaster when I can barely speak one fucking language, Jesus Christ, I had a lot of pronunciation troubles today. You can hopefully, get to better times. And I sincerely hope you do. So hanging in there, If this helps, I hope it does, and I will get out of here.
Thanks, time suckers. I needed that.
We all did. Thanks again for listening to another Bad Magic Productions podcast, Meat Sacks. Keep an eye on the sky this week. You know, if you see any UFOs, don't be afraid. Don't run and hide. Maybe they'll abduct and then, I don't know, fuck you in the best possible way. If you meet any sex-happy aliens this week, I hope you have the best time. And that you're able to, you know, for as long as you deem appropriate, keep on sucking.
Bad Magic Productions.
March 10th, 2022. I am transmitting important messages from planet Zecon, and also known as Planet Fuckall. This is Nathan Elohim. He has a new message of sexual ascendancy. I must be given blowjobs from my followers, pretty much nonstop, or the planet is obliterated. I also must be made hot turkey sandwiches at roughly noon, depending on blowjob, and spaghetti bolognese at 6:00 p.m. Pacific time, but no later because the red sauce will give me heartburn if I eat it too close to bedtime. What will happen is Neapolitan ice cream for dessert will reduce effects of heartburn and acid reflux, and I would like chicken fried steak for breakfast. That is how we will get to heaven. That is all.